Perfect. Starting. Okay. Hey guys. Hello over Twitch. Hi Anna.
Hi everyone.
All right. Welcome to the another edition of Nikola Learns Chess with the legend Anna Rudolf.
Thank you so much, Nikola. You're always very kind, calling me a legend when I'm not. You're the legend, and you have a great hat choice for today.
Thank you. This is my lucky hat. I wore it, I think, against Chiu match. So
Then it is indeed a luck bringer. Although you also played really well.
thank you.
We're gonna be talking about those matches today, also for the topic of the lesson, because normally I would choose a complex middle game where I can torture Nikola. That's the point of the show. But I also want to make sure that there's no opening that puts you into a difficult situation in terms of if you're not feeling that type of middle game. So it's not about the opening line as much as the position that arises from certain variations. So we're going to be talking about one of those openings today.
Okay. Thank you. Hey, Twitch, it's good to see you, my friend. Hello, let's see be more. Thank you. I have finally enabled all my hats, so there will be. It's not going to be happening on this stream, but on my other streams, there will be a channel point option that will allow people to pick up a hat. So
That's amazing. I can't wait to see some of those as well. But
yeah,
yes, today it's still gonna be hard work, even if we are not going for a crazy middle game position, but still an unpleasant one. It's gonna be more of a strategic exercise.
thank you, and I'm so looking forward to it. Hey, Hedgehogs 1963, it's good to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Good to see you guys joining. Thank you, Bertrich, for that. Yes, this is gonna be a training session that hopefully is helpful to all of you watching, especially if you end up in those middle game positions. Nicola, tell us about last Sunday and your experience about the match.
Okay, well, the experience was somewhat mixed for the very simple reason that as black, I felt that I was completely outplayed in opening I normally know, and consider myself reasonably theoretically having a theoretically sound foundation. That's Scotch defense, and I felt honestly like somebody who is being slowly strangled by a python, as I told Anna, as I told Dina at the time. Hey, Dirk, thank you for joining us, and yeah, thanks. Anna doesn't need any encouragement, and thank you, From Blank. It's good to see you. Yeah,
Thank you, Dirk.
yeah. Incidentally, one of these days, Anna and I are gonna have a. Hey, Lally, it's good to see you. I know it's very late for you. Thank you for joining us, my friend. It's very good to see you. Yeah, we're gonna have a special stream one of these days, but I'm not gonna tell you what's gonna be the topic of that stream. So anyway, we'll keep that as a secret. So I played against Dina, and I kind of was prepared for her openings as both her opening setups, as white as in black. However, as black, I kept playing, and it was pretty tough going in the first four games with the Scotch, which I presume is what Anna has in mind today. And you know this, but as white, I think I played fairly well, and I had very good positions as white. Until the very last game in which I decided I'm not going to play Scotch, and I played Latvian Gambit, and ended up having a one position because Dina blundered the rook, and then I blundered the mate in one, so we were kind of messed up that game completely jointly. Anyway, it was a good match. I'm very happy to see it. I'm a little bit scared of playing Alessia next Sunday because Alessia is preparing. So I'm a little nervous, I have to admit. Anyway, so Anna, what do you have a store for us today?
Well, you guessed it very well that it was gonna be that one particular middle game position arising from the Scotch that you played this last Sunday a couple of times, and then you ended up changing opening because you were really unpleasant in those middle games. And I thought that first of all we will take a look at those middle game positions from your games and see what you thought about them, or where did it start going wrong. And then I have chosen three model games from which we will hopefully learn some ideas
Okay.
for black in those positions.
Nice. That sounds like a great plan. And yes, yes, Lalia Alessia is crazy. The name of her show, of her community is Crazylandia, and that's part of the appeal of the whole thing. That doesn't mean that she's not a very strong player, and it doesn't mean that she's not going to prepare. So anyway, sorry, Anna, interrupted you.
No, no, no. I think that's important to add. And yes, if she will prepare, I don't know her opening repertoire, but whether it's for this Sunday or for upcoming ones, I don't want you to have to change your openings just to avoid this middle game from the Scotch. So the reason why we're gonna address it as soon as we can on this Wednesday is to make sure that he will be comfortable in the upcoming matches, even if your opponent plays that Scotch line.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah, thanks, Lalia. You lurking there actually helps me because I know you're my friend. So thank you.
In terms of your games, I was gonna ask out of the games in which you played the Scotch, which one do you think we shall use as base? Because you were changing a little bit how you play from.
Not the one in which I played Bishop A6 like an idiot, please.
So in terms of, I'm looking now at the list of games, and so you played with the black pieces in the second game, in the fourth game, in the sixth game. Do you know which one would be the best to use as the base? Because there are
Probably,
slight differences between.
if I remember correctly, it would be the fourth game. I think that was the best game I played.
Okay, so
Um,
we're gonna take that as the base
Actually,
for
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the right game. Yes, Scotch is going down
today.
on rocks.
It is. So the opening, I'm gonna just play out those moves. Or if do you prefer taking control of the opening moves? To
No, you please you go ahead.
sure,
I
we can flip the board to see it from Black's perspective.
Sure. Let me figure out how to do this and flip the board. Where is this? Where is this blue? Why can't I? Why
Mm.
can't I never figure that out? Oh yes, I found. All right, there you go.
So she played with the move or the first knight c3, but
Yes.
in any case, it does transpose
Yeah.
to the usual lines. This one being one of the main lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
E5, e takes, c takes, castle, castle, bishop to g5, c6, everything is normal. Queen f3, bishop e7. It's the main line as far as I know. A lot
Yes.
of super grandmasters play it this way as well. After h3, rook b8, which is also pretty common. Rook b8 and h6 are the two most common,
Yeah.
but they can still transpose even if black plays h6 first. Like you played h6 now, which is very logical. This is, I think, the most principled way to play as black. Chase away the bishop with h6 and then bishop d6. So you, obviously Nikola knows theory very well. This is move
Yeah.
14 and everything is perfect.
Yes,
Uh,
this is my favorite incidentally position. If I recall correctly, the number one computer recommendation here is to play Rook B7.
what? Instead of bishop d6?
Yes.
You're kidding.
No.
Rook rook to
In
g.
Yes, and it's like okay, thank you. I mean, all right, thank you, Stockfish.
Yeah, I think I agree with the human grandmasters that reach this position that bishop d6 is good, because it can be similar to if you play h6 first. The model
Yeah,
games I've seen were this line, but even without the rook hanging, black goes bishop d6 to trade that bishop. So
yeah,
I think that we can stick to this move.
yeah.
So I'm just gonna keep playing these moves, and do let me know when you recall a moment in the game that you felt that it's a bit unpleasant or you weren't sure.
My problem is that I am when I play this against somebody like Dina, who is a very strong positional player. it's a very uncomfortable position, fairly quickly, fairly soon. And I am, I have a memory of, I think we contested this in Scotch 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And there was basically one game in which I have, hey, Sepper, my friend, thank you for joining us. It's very good. Um, I felt at this point, honestly, and this is going to be even more pronounced in game 6, that Dina was a little bit pushing it here.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway. Yeah, this is by far my best game in as far as Scotch is concerned.
Yeah, no, I think you played well, and it looks scary. It looks scary what she's doing on the king side, but I think you reacted well by playing king h8 and just being calm. That there's
Sure.
it's nothing concrete for white. It looks scary, but it's not that good what she has been doing here.
No. And
Um,
in the game number 6, which I won game number 5,
mhm.
and in game number 6 she played c4 very early, and that was actually a really bad move that I didn't take advantage of. But
Mhm.
I felt in game number 3, the game prior to this one, I had a one position then that I managed first not to win. We played Scandinavian defense, and I first
Yeah.
managed not to win, and then I managed
Mhm.
to mouse slip in the night game that was drawn. So
Yeah.
anyway,
But I thought that you played this game very well. Where do you think it slipped out of your hands?
I made I should I missed the opportunity for counterattack.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I had a very good defensive setup. All of this is fine. This is scary, but there are really not that many concrete threats. And here
Yeah.
is another thing that I was thinking. Uh, would I play it this way against Danya? Probably not,
Hmm.
to be very frank, because
Mm-hmm.
Danya is an attacking player.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that Dina is a positional player, so she's not going to make any wild sacrifice that will surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I see.
yeah,
But until this point, I think you played really well and just being calm under this
yeah,
king side attack that she's been trying to build up. Obviously, the pawn is untouchable because the rook would be hanging, so she played rook e1, then knight f6 to point out that the queen has to be holding on to the rook, queen
yeah,
h4. And I just thought that then you played very logical now that you don't need a rook on g8 to protect g7, so you play rook
yeah.
e8. I really like this game. So I was surprised that you got into trouble out of the Scotch when you were okay for a while, and then it only at some point it would slip out of your
Yes.
hands.
There is a moment when when the king went to h2.
Uh huh.
This I should have played rook e3 here.
Ah.
Instead, I
Yeah.
think I'm drawing on my memory, and it's not the GM memory, I played queen e5. And that was
Yes.
actually, and that's kind of a bad move in this situation. Also, I'm also starting to draw down on time a little bit.
I see.
And I like the defensive setup, but a missed opportunity for counterattack. If I played rook e3, then I'm actually in excellent shape. My bishop is better than the white bishop. That knight is in a little bit in there, and then there is this. That pin is pretty nasty. So, but
Yeah,
that's the move I missed.
I agree. I agree. But until this point, you really played very well. And queen e5 is still, I think, a good move. Rook e3 is stronger, as you said, but um, it's not like queen e5 is a blunder. I think black is still better. The d4 pass pawn, the centralized pieces, really the activity of black's pieces compared to white's pieces especially this knight on a4. She now started bringing it back. I think this is where the trouble started a little bit, because she got the knight back to
Yeah.
c4, and then it wasn't so clear
Yeah.
anymore. But even then, I thought that this game was well played and well handled, the middle game too. So let's compare it to the other Scotch lines as well that you played. I mean, same Scotch line, but different,
Yep.
little bit different, the middle games, and see what we can um, take as conclusions from this and
Okay.
the rest of the games, because this one I thought that was really well played. But
Well,
I also
I learned from Dina.
I was just thinking that even though you get good positions out of this line of the Scotch, it did come across that you were not that
No.
comfortable with
No.
the middle games.
And in the very last game, I played Latvian Gambit, and very honestly, after game number 2, or maybe game number 4, which were, I probably should have played Latvian Gambit then and then, right there. And interesting part of it is, and I can, Dina won't mind if I say this. After I played Latvian Gambit, she also had a slight technical problem, but she spent a minute thinking about how she's going to respond to F5.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So now this is the first game. We're just gonna compare how you handled this one. It's similar, but not exactly the same.
No, I
setup.
here made one pretty big blunder, which means I played Bishop A6, which is just a bad move.
I'll just we will just very briefly look at it. Not, I don't want to be torturing you that much to look at the blunder.
No,
but yes,
honestly, this is
explain your
bad
thinking here when you played Bishop A6, because I don't care that much about the move, but more the thinking behind it.
Here, the thinking is very simple. And this is what happens when one acquires a fair amount of theory fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
One transposes. So Bishop A6 is actually a common motive in Scotch in more than one position and more than one game. Mm-hmm. And I assumed that it would work here, and it's basically loses pawn by force.
Yeah. So it was simply that similar pattern how this move works in other positions.
Yeah. I mean, Bishop A6 is, in other variation of Scotch when the queen is on E2, and, it's a completely different variation, but I assumed that the same motive would work here. It didn't, and I didn't calculate the consequences.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
So, a Bishop A6, I'll just very briefly show to the viewers in case they weren't here. The problem is that this pawn can be captured, and this would not be recommendable.
That's not a very
yeah. And of course Nikola sees these lines immediately, so once the pawn was captured on d5, you knew immediately that this is bad.
And very frankly, it's a very first game of a match, and it takes me time to settle down. So yeah.
No, that's true. So let's also take a look at game 6, where you still played the same Scotch line, but without Bishop A6, and it's back to now the Bishop B4 line. So she also repeated the same move order and setup as in game 4. So this is the Bishop B4 line, the main line, trade, castle C6, everything was the same.
Yeah, and there is something, in my defense, this was probably probably the worst game I played as black in the match, or close to it. This was right after I defeated the adoption. So in many ways, my adrenaline was down.
Yes. That makes sense, though, that you've just won game 5, and that's quite a moment that can understandably make you relaxed.
Yes, so I was like, okay, anyway, so yeah, and that's actually that knight E2 thing I don't remember seeing before. So it's a natural motive, but I don't think I have seen Dina play in any of the games I played with her, so I didn't really know how to handle it. And then I allowed this knight on e6 to be exchanged. Then the weak pawn appeared, and then it became some tactical motives that I didn't calculate properly.
Mm-hmm.
And the end result was, yeah,
Yes,
I
your wife
I
got.
shouldn't have allowed that knight to take the bishop, pure and
Yeah.
simple.
So, for instance, now that you've taken those conclusions, what do you think should be the way to go if you were to play this position again?
Well, first let her take. Put the rook on e8. Uh, Find some sort of a counterplay, and one potential counterplay is to push the central pawns. Also, I push putting rook on b8 in this position is also another motive. That's basically developing a piece with tempo.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, as a matter of rule, I have a very hard time playing these positions in which I am slightly weaker, and and in which I have no initiative, and I have to basically, if I'm defending for dear life, that's easier for me than having to respond to imperceptible advantages.
I see. So it's not that scary, these type of positions,
No,
but they are slightly unpleasant.
it's unpleasant, yeah, and there is really nothing. Bless you, Anna.
Thank you. Sorry, my
No,
allergies.
no. There is nothing concrete to. It's basically positional maneuvering, and the same way Chiu and I played the same ending 4 times. I found it. I just found it very unpleasant, pure and
Yes.
simple.
No, that's totally understandable. I think we all have type of middle games that we don't like that
Sure.
much. So today's objective is to make sure that you are comfortable in these lines, no matter what's the exact move order, the exact setup, whether the 92 ideas with c4 or other type of positions. So that's why I have selected 3 model games, and we hopefully will learn a lot from those. But
Thank you.
I think you summed up very well what happened to you, the bishop a6, how it was a theme from another line. Then this knight e2, you haven't seen her playing this way, and it surprised you. So you were trying to go for the same trade of bishops on f4, but it also brought her knight into the game.
Yep.
I was checking this line briefly with the engine, your game.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing is that even after bishop takes, knight takes, the engine doesn't consider this bad for black, but I think psychologically it does start to become really unpleasant after c4. So it may not be any advantage objectively. But white has been making quite some progress with that knight maneuver, the rook on the d5, c4. So I do, if I were to play this as black, I think I would have felt the same way, that things are slipping out of my hands.
No, I'm out of comfort zone, and on top of it, I know I'm in my opponent's comfort zone,
Yeah, that's true.
and I just won a game 5 in which it was basically the exact opposite of this.
Yeah.
It was basically a completely wild position in which evaluation could go from one to another, and now to go into, forgive me, and this is statement about how I feel about it more than anything else, to go into this torture.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It
Dirk is
was.
asking if we can push c5 here immediately. Nikola, were you considering c5 here? What were your move candidates after c4?
Well, I actually, if I recall correctly, I ended up making this d4, c4, c5 push, and I actually allowed Dina to take on e6. And my idea was that I am going to, I even ended up sacrificing an exchange to do that.
Mm-hmm.
With the idea that I will have two protected pass pawns in the middle.
Hmm.
I underestimated the strength of the attack that White ended up having, unfortunately, and that was the end of the game.
So c5, as Dirkia is asking, was
Yeah, you can, and it it ended up we played something along those lines, but
yeah.
the
You went
problem
with d4 first. I think
I
if
played
you
d4.
were
Yeah,
to push c5 immediately, that d file is something to worry about. Those
yeah. No, you.
pins.
I don't think we can push c5 because she can take, and then we
Yeah,
have this very nasty threat, and this bishop can give a check on h7, so we can't do that. But I played d4, and then I played c5.
yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, what ended up happening is when this bishop got exchanged, I ended up with a weak pawn on e6, which honestly I didn't mind that much. But the problem was, hey, hashtag go, thank you for the raid. That's very greatly
Thank you for the
appreciated.
raid hashtag. I raided hashtag earlier, and now hashtag is raiding you. It's the same chain. Thank you so much for that, Adrian, and thank you for your work on the sub battle video. Hashtag is editing the sub battle that Alex and I played a few Sundays ago, Nikola. So that's gonna be a special video for YouTube. I haven't uploaded any sub battles
How
recently,
nice.
but because of Alex's reactions, as you told me, that's the highlight. And I agree, it has to be on YouTube.
No, it has to be on YouTube. It's just, if nothing else, just for Alexandra reaction
Just to zoom in on
Vila's
Alex's face.
and Vila's draw offer. I'm sorry. In
Ooh, well, that was that. No, it's still nice that he wanted to play on my team, even if he can't really do it.
well, it's kind of hard to play against one's employer, especially when that employer is as competitive as Alexandra is. So
Yeah.
anyway, well, I'm playing Alessia on the next Sunday, and this Sunday, the next Sunday, I play Alexandra, and the Sunday after that, we just actually sign up. I'm playing Anna Maya Kazarian. So I have, this is going to be interesting. Hey, 2511, it's very good to see you. So Druki was saying that I should have pushed c5 earlier, like before the bishop trade. Like you're saying,
Oh, even earlier.
or even earlier, like here. Um,
I'm not sure. So c5 here, but if white continues, oh, that white cannot go c4 immediately would be the idea, I'm guessing.
yes. So, and we are threatening c4. Durkee might be right.
Hmm. Yeah, that could be another way of playing. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't considered c5 at this moment, but it does make a lot of sense because c4 cannot be a response immediately, and
Yeah.
we are threatening to trap the bishop.
Okay. Hey, okay, tested. It's good to see you, and hello, Legend Worship. It's very good to see you, and hello, Catchas. It's very nice to see all you guys here. That's very greatly appreciated. So, Dirkie, when did you want to play this? Here.
Oh, a move later?
Yeah.
Here I'm not that sure anymore because once the rook is on d1, I think those c4 ideas are always on the
Yeah.
cards.
Well, you can put d4. The thing here is that I don't know. Let me put it this way: I misplayed this game to begin with. So, well, anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and also as we said, the way you played wasn't a mistake. Um, it's only after c4 that d4 is not the best reaction, but I understand that at this point it was already psychologically really unpleasant how white is making progress and she's in her comfort zone. So the
Yeah.
combination of those two and that it's right after the game you won. I think that all adds up to this being not the best approach in terms of like how you
No.
reacted to this line. But these are things to learn from, and also these d4 and c5 pushes. We're gonna be looking at those ideas in the model games because I
Okay.
think it's so tricky in this line when to push the pawns and if you want to fix your pawn structure or not, because by
Yeah.
having the pawn on d4 and then protecting it, that is a protected pass pawn, but it loses the flexibility of your pawn structure. So
Yes.
it's got to be the right moment when you play it, if
Yeah.
you play it.
Yes. Yeah. 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 I couldn't agree more. And then there is always a threat of undermining that whole pawn structure with pushing b4.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
anyway, yeah. And here is something that needs to be said. You know, I looked at ChessBase and I looked at online, and there are like more than 100 games in this line that Dina
Yep.
played. And Dina is obviously, you know, much stronger player than myself, than I will ever be. So, you know, it just wasn't my comfort zone.
Yes. Yeah. And then you tried the fourth time you played this just to compare, because it's interesting how throughout the match, of course, it kept coming back because she keeps repeating the line,
Sure.
but that's why you were trying to change a little bit. And the fourth game you played in the Scotch was, let me bring that up,
Yeah, that was game 8.
this move
And
order.
that was actually also awkward because I won game 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, oh, again this. uh,
Trade, castle. You played bishop e6. In the other game, you played bishop e7.
I
And
know,
now.
Dirk. Yeah, shh, don't tell Anna.
It's okay, Dirk. Yeah, you just spill the beans every time it's possible.
You know what
Yeah.
I did? I'm actually very proud of what I did in this game after this one as black.
Mm.
And Anna, we're just gonna show the first 3 moves of that game, if
Yes,
you don't mind,
absolutely. We can
just to
show
worship.
we
Yeah.
can show your wins as well. This is not about
No, no,
exposing
no, it's
people as
fine.
losses. You do that to yourself on Mondays already. So,
That's fine.
but I think this was too. It was okay the way you handled it. I was
I,
wondering. Castle C takes. Oh yeah, here
I,
in this one moment.
I think she's
Um,
actually imprecise here. To be fair. Hey, Frappuccino, thank you. Um,
did you check this with the engine? I'm wondering.
with?
Have you analyzed this game with the engine? I'm wondering.
I did.
You did.
Yeah,
What
I
did the
did.
engine say about this position?
That black is better.
Yeah. Do you remember the move with which black is better here?
Actually, yeah, bishop. I should have played bishop g4. It's a natural move.
That's square, but with another piece. From what I analyzed, there's something really strong here for black, and
Uh,
it's.
I have admission to make. These games ended up being so painful for me that I didn't, you know, that I was. Let me say this: you surprised me with this choice. I actually was allocated tomorrow to look into this game in
I'm
some
so sorry.
detail.
I'm bringing up
No,
painful
no, no,
memories
that's fine.
here. Um,
And I basically need to sit down. I have actually a couple of courses on Scotch, and I just need to refresh my memory. And then I need to bring. I have a setup in which I have a Lila and Stockfish on the same thing, and I just need to work on this. It's just a very, very uncomfortable position for
yeah.
someone who likes the dynamic positions. And anyway, so.
It's all right. I understand that these are not pleasant memories, and of course, you also are very busy. So I don't expect you to
No, no,
go
no.
through
It's
all the
fine.
games in much depth. I was just curious if you remember this position and that there's a tactical idea for black here.
Tactical idea. I actually don't remember. What's the tactical idea? To take on f2?
I don't know. Let's calculate. If you don't remember, it's better because then I can give it to you as an exercise and to everybody in the audience.
No,
This
I
is
actually. The
black to
funny
move.
thing is, I actually thought about it when we played this game, if I
Hmm.
remember correctly. All right, so yeah, you see, that's the thing. I let, and this is self-criticism, and you know, uh, I let Dina put me outside of my comfort zone in 4 games. and I shouldn't have allowed that to begin with. I'm not gonna make that same mistake again. And I did the same error against Chiu. Hey, Chestnut KZ, it's good to see you, my friend. So, all right, so let's see. Bishop takes on f2. I guess. Hey, 127424147. Thank you for the follow. Very glad. I appreciate it. All right, so takes knight g4, and where is the king going? If it goes back to both backs to say f1 or g1, I can put queen f4, and how is she? Yeah, I should have played that.
Let's calculate it. Don't believe me. Let's calculate.
No, I believe you. No, the thing is that the most frustrating part of playing the Scotch defense against Dina is that you have a feeling that you are going down not swinging. At least this would have been going down swinging.
Okay, let's calculate that. So, if white goes to g1 with the king, what's next?
Queen. Hey, hey, my friend. Just wanted to give a shout out to Mark Esserman. It's very good to see you. And tell us in that I actually don't believe that. So let's not bring that up. It's not nice. So queen h4, right? And there is no concrete threat here. Obviously, there is a concrete threat of mate on h2. Or I can't take on d5 first. But, all right, yeah. So queen h4 is a natural move. We attack this, there's a possibility of this, and guess what? In addition to the mate attack, I can even have a perpetual, haha, which is to my advantage. Okay.
So queen h4, how shall white react to that?
Okay, let me make the move. Well, this actually resembles some of the martial attack positions.
Mm-hmm. True.
So, how do we defend one candidate move is h3. And I can play knight f2.
Mm-hmm. So h3, knight f2.
Which may or may not be the best move. I'm just thinking aloud. Queen f3, and then I can play knight h3, and I take a rook on e1. So this actually resembles the original martial attack with the one that actually Marshall played against Capablanca, with instead of c6, he played knight f6.
Mm-hmm.
And why didn't I play this again?
I don't know. I'm not gonna give up just yet. I'm not gonna throw in the towel. So h3.
Okay. Let me
just knight f2.
Just play.
So the idea.
Yes. So the idea here is if you play queen f3, I take this with a knight, and then I take the rook, and then if I'm so inclined, I can even take the bishop.
Yes,
and these
correct.
pieces. And these pieces are kind of being munched. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is bad for what Nikola said. Very nicely spotted. The rook is hanging, and if king f1, this position with bishop g4 is just a very strong attack for black. As you said, those pieces are not playing, so the sacrifice piece actually can't be felt in this position because white is not using all their pieces.
Yeah, and then I can play this rook on a8, and I'm it's actually funny. I think I analyzed this game yesterday, on Monday, and I said, I didn't play knight g4 because it looked messy, and I'm like, what am I saying? Yeah.
Wait.
the problem is, Anna, that this
I'm gonna ask you a few more questions though, Nicola, because this is a winning line for black. But
I
after
think,
knight
Anna, you're being trolled today rather
F-
heavily.
Wait, I'm gonna make this calculation exercise. Worship is in quotations as well.
They're kind of being munched.
I like it.
Thank you, Lali. Okay. All right, guys. I'm just gonna say this exactly once. The gentleman who actually played Anna in that game, that ostensibly used Ripka in the lip balm, is on the record saying that doesn't think that happened. Okay. So can we please not make Anna uncomfortable in this channel? Anybody who mentioned the Ripka lip balm or has a very creative name like that will be instantly banned and permanently. Okay? So please, let's move
Thank
on.
you, Nicola. What I find funny though, also like apart from how everyone thought it was an insane idea over 10 years ago, so it's not even modern times. But Agat Matter showed the game that I
Yes.
played. He asked me for the game, and he knows the full story, and he presented the story as it is. So he also obviously knows that it didn't happen.
Thank you,
It's
Hedgehog.
just a very insanely crazy story that was
Yeah.
picked up in the media. Of course, it's catchy to put in the title, accused with engine in the lip balm, or I don't remember what exactly the title is, but he just presents the story as it happened. It was an accusation case, not a case of cheating with a lip balm. I wish I knew how to do that, but unfortunately, I'm not James Bond. No, honestly, it's it's more of a joke nowadays if people refer to
Yeah.
it. If
Anyway.
you guys actually believe it, read
S-
the stories. Read the stories fully.
Anna, I'm really sorry you're trolled in
It's
this
okay.
channel. You certainly don't deserve it. So anyway, the policy is you heard it. So anyway, let me put it this way: is this a better position for black? Yeah. Is this a more comfortable position for me? Yes. Would I be able to do something in this position? Yes. Was it a smart strategic decision to play this against Dina? Absolutely.
There's one move here though that can save white. Everything looks great for black,
Bishop
but
d2. No, that doesn't work because I'm here reminding of my motives that I learned from defending against Marshall. Well, we can borrow from Capablanca and play Rook e2, right? Or okay, I already know Anna's body language. I don't have it. All right. Well, the original threat here is basically to play knight h3 and so on and so forth. So can we play rook e3 to defend that sacrifice?
so you mean which exact line?
Well, the threat here is sacrificing on. Oh my God! Is
It's
party
okay.
is my party back or what's going on today?
You watched too many Alexandra streams. It's all right. We all did.
Thanks. All right. Okay. If he comes back and calls me you young man, let's keep him unbanned for 5 seconds just because he gave a compliment. Anyway, I'm joking. All right. Sorry. So there is a move that saves this. Let me think for a second. Actually, rook e3 looks like a good move. It's not, right?
Um,
Yeah, okay. Okay. Hey, Venkat10021, thank you for the follow. That's very greatly appreciated.
so, guys, the queen f3 move was not good for white because of knight takes h3. So white needs a different idea here to save the material advantage that they have.
Yes, and bishop d2 is actually a good move. The only problem is that leaves the Elliot T42. Thank you for the follow. That's not the unfortunately the bishop on d3 is undefended.
Hmm.
Um,
So the problem is the queen is hanging, the bishop on d3 is also always in this motifs, and the rook on e1. Any
yes.
way in which you could picture getting out of it?
Well, we said that the problem with queen f3 is that it takes on h3 and then takes this. So the
Hmm.
only other move that protects all three pieces is queen e2. Right. Or is there another move? I need to move the queen, obviously. So if I move queen d2, then I can actually also move queen d2.
Does it change if it's the queen on e2 or d2? What will black play?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Let me see. Hmm. And this is incidentally why I didn't win game three. I this mid level. Um, oh, and thank you, Hedgehog 1963. Very greatly appreciated.
Hmm.
If you don't mind, add Ripka to that list. Uh, well, if for some reason Queen E2 feels more natural, but Queen D2 maintains a threat of if black plays Bishop D5 to take on H7 and grab the bishop,
Hmm.
which actually might be useful. So candidate move is Queen D2. And I don't really see anything else, to be honest with you, Anna. I mean, I need to move the queen, so obviously rook e3 is not an option. It's this or it's
Hmm.
this.
Hmm.
Queen c2 doesn't protect the rook. If I think I would probably end up playing this.
Hmm.
Okay, that's the
So
move.
queen d2, and if I take the bishop,
And if you take the bishop, then what do I do here? Then I can play. Then I can play rook e. Can I play rook e3 or because obviously I cannot take the knight, but I want to protect from any attack on this. So I can play something like this, and I have two pieces. Black has two pieces that are hanging.
hmm, yeah, rook e3. So now that is a difference with queen e2. So you
Yeah,
you were right that white queen e2 is more natural of a square, but after knight takes d3, we don't have the
rook
option
e3.
of rook e3 here, and rook d1 is not the same effect. So very well spotted that by playing this awkward move, queen to d2, after knight takes d3, white is still winning material because too many pieces are hanging. And if knight takes c1, that knight is not coming out of c1. We can take on e6 first.
Yeah.
Good, very good job. Now, funnily enough, after queen d2, but this, of course, you didn't have to calculate. The engine still insists that this is okay for black because black starts going for the perpetual. So there's still a way to get out of this. But the move that I definitely didn't see that after knight f2,
Mm-hmm.
Nikola, tell me why bishop takes h7 is the best move.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
You didn't have to see any of this in the game against Dina. I'm just showing you how crazy the position was.
No, it's obvious. It's queen c2 if it takes with the king, and if it takes with the queen, king f2,
Yeah.
and it's winning. Wow.
Yeah. And if king h8, it's simply that you have moved away the bishop from that hanging square. So now you can move the queen, and then black's bishop is hanging too.
Yeah. Now, would Dina find this in a game? Well, she may. This is tough, but this would definitely be going down swinging.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Um, it was it was a crazy position. I was looking at it, the other lines as well. I don't think it's relevant. I just wanted to show some of this. King g3 maybe okay for white. So it's, but would she go king g3? As you said, in the game when she's uncomfortable in these type of positions, this could have been very good as a
Jeez.
practical decision.
Okay, queen d6, bishop
Let me go back to
f4.
my notes because
Oh
somehow king
God.
g3 was surviving. Let me see. King g3. So you are saying queen d6?
Yeah, that's bishop f4. That's not a good
Yeah,
move.
yeah, that's the only thing that white has
But
bishop
that's
f4.
sufficient. Hey, Craft Hedgehog, thank you for gifting a
Mm.
sub to Crafty Raff, and thank you, Dirk, for giving that tier 1 sub to No Trolls here at all. Thank you, that's very greatly appreciated and perfectly appropriate. Well, you can play something along the lines of f5, and then, or even h5, and then maybe threaten to push on h4, and it's messy.
Yeah,
It's messy.
the issue I think is that the bishop on e6 is hanging right now. So if we don't want to give that up, we'll have to do something about that first. But it's also protecting the knight. I think that's why king g3 actually can be good for white, because of how we either have to give up the bishop or we need to slow down the attack. But yeah, this would have been crazy. On another note, because of that f2 square being so vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
bishop takes f2 is a very straightforward line that could have been good in a practical game, but even stronger is knight to g4.
Okay.
Um, and if this is taken, queen h4, and just I I think this is your typical attack, Nikola.
Oh yeah. I saw all of this and I thought it messy, and then I said, all right, I'm not doing this. Um,
Yeah, it's just to learn. In case anyone ever plays this exact line against you, it's not typical, of course. It's not at all typical to have this position. The
sure.
other lines are way more typical than this. But if anyone ever repeats this against you, you're gonna play knight g4 and mate them in 5 moves.
Thank you. All right. Sounds like a plan.
Okay, now we're gonna take a look at the model games I have prepared about the
Okay.
Scotch and see what we can learn about that pawn
Okay.
structure. So the more solid lines, not these sharp ideas, of course.
Of course, Anna. Thank you. Can you indulge me and just show the very last game?
Of course,
First,
sorry, I forgot. I forgot we
just the first
promised.
three moves.
No, that's a must. If you guys haven't seen Nicola's games, you need to check out the entire match, because I was only pointing out the bad ones because we are here to learn about the
Oh, I
Scotch
lost.
variation.
No, Anna, we're not showing the whole game. It's extremely embarrassing. I managed. Dina blundered the rook, and I blundered the mate rather stupidly. Actually, if you want to listen to my analysis of that game, it's on my stream from Monday. Actually, it's posted on YouTube if you guys want to see it. But I just want to tell you this basically. So, if you are being squeezed in Scotch, play freaking Latvian Gambit, and Dina spent a minute thinking about what she's gonna play on f5.
Mm-hmm. That was a very good choice.
Yeah, and I'm
for that
already,
psychological reason.
it's very quickly turns into a very messy position, and anyway. And then obviously, play d5, take bishop, take on f5, and g4 is actually a horrible move. And it get messier. But from a purely practical standpoint, this I should have played this on game 4.
Mm-hmm.
And why I didn't, I don't know. The thing is, I always assume that I'm comfortable in Scotch, but when you play someone like Dean, I cannot. It's difficult. Anyway, so yes, it's, as I said, it's not a very not a very good game. I'm almost embarrassed for you to show this, but go ahead, I showed it. So Dina here blundered the rook on h1, and yours truly then proceeded to lose this position because I basically choked after all this, and my bias to simplification showed up, and so on and so forth. So anyway.
You weren't doing bad until the very end.
No, this
Here.
I should have played rook e8 and called it a day, and that would have been
Yeah.
the end of the. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just gonna end this call, and for the record, my phone is designed to wake me up, which is why it sounds like this. All right. Yeah, if you there are only a few more moves left, we can show to the rest. I'll just
Sure.
and then this is actually a sideline.
This should be the game. King c1, and after rook d5, queen e6, rook d7, queen takes c6,
Yeah.
rook takes h2, and queen a8.
And I actually had a draw here. I should have just played rook to d8 instead of rook to h2, but I was just anyway. And for the record, Dana blundered a mate in 1 in game 7 in a drawn position, so I owed the lady a blunder. So anyway, it's fine.
A very well fought match overall, and we weren't showing the games that you won with the white pieces, so this is not the full picture. You guys should check out the YouTube video on Nikola's channel to understand what happened at the match, but we are focusing today on the Scotch to avoid getting into an unpleasant middle game, even though Nikola played really well in those games, but from the psychological perspective, it was an unpleasant situation. So that's the only reason why we're going to be training today in those middle games a little more. Let me open the first model game that we have.
Thank you, Anna.
I chose the lines with let me see, where is it in these ones? Since this happened in most of the games, I chose this as our starting position.
Okay.
Castle. And the first model game, it can be always a combination of h3, bishop g5, queen f3. Those ideas are very common. In the first game that we were going to be looking at, it was castle, h3, c6, and white played queen f3. So white is still waiting to decide whether to play bishop g5 or bishop f4. Those are the two main developing moves for the bishop. Black went back to d6, to which white played bishop f4. So basically this, it's not exactly the same, but it's as if you have played bishop g5, bishop e7, h6, bishop f4, bishop d6. In that sense, it's similar, but without the pawn on h6. Rook fe1, rook b... Oh, sorry, bishop f4. I'm missing... Oh, wait. No, sorry, I messed up the move order. Queen f3... not bishop d6 first, sorry. Queen f3, h6. Okay, now this is how we land in the same position. Sorry, I skipped that move. And I was explaining how it's almost the same. No, it's actually basically the same without playing bishop g5, bishop e7. So rook fe1. This is the exact same position that Nikola would have in the Scotch, with a bit of a different move order, but the same position. Rook b8. Now we are in the very same position because you played rook b8 first and then the bishop moves. b3. And we're going to start thinking here with the black pieces because you had this position. And let's try to, first of all, tell the viewers and me everything you know about these middle games, and then what are the typical plans you think black should play for.
Yeah. Hey, Jay Schlack, thank you for the follow, my friend. That's very greatly appreciated. Yves Sinasir, thank you for the follow as well. Sorry for having followers only enabled. We had some troll in eruptions. I guess I guess that's par for the course. Well, the issue real here is one, at the obviously this structure, queenside structure, is better than this queenside structure.
Mm-hmm.
These pawns are actually hard to get to, but there is always the motive of c4.
Yeah.
It's a little question mark what to do with this bishop.
Mm-hmm. Yes, true.
This rook is usefully employed, but it's hitting this granite on b3 right now. So it's really, and the question here is, how do you connect the rooks?
Mm-hmm.
White usually likes to play rook on d1.
Yes.
And then to reinforce this d4. And finally, and this is something that I played, and incidentally, another streamer, a very strong player that plays this on a regular basis is Fiona. So I played this against Fiona a few times as well. So, obviously, the one possible, you really do not want this knight to hop on c5, because once that knight on c5, you're not, it's ain't leaving. So the one potential motive is to, which is what I kind of always like to play, was to play bishop e6, which is kind of then a little bit invulnerable, also prevents white from taking advantage of the opening e file, which is much easier for white to take care of, because white actually has an advantage in development.
Yes.
So then, you need to decide what to do with these bishops. It would be nice for this bishop to go on c5 and threaten f2, but unfortunately that facilitates this knight e4, knight c5 thing. In one game, I think I might even played against Dina, this bishop ended up being on a8, and that proved to be a surprisingly good spot for the bishop. Pushing a5 and then taking bishop to a6 is too slow and doesn't work. And on top of it, that pawn on a6, that becomes a5. It just doesn't work. So this is one of those things in which white has a very small, almost imperceptible advantage, but it's there, and it's the counterplay is a little bit tedious.
True.
And that's, I think that's a fair summary here. If there are a couple of ways to prevent knight to go into c5, play queen e5 at some point, play bishop b4 if after b3, but you can't do it because of this. And one potential disadvantage here is that and I lost a few games against Dean, actually 2 games against Dean in this position, in which c pawn and d pawn get exchanged, and then black has this c6 pawn. Black is not sufficiently desperate to go into tactical complications, but black is weaker, and it requires very careful playing.
True. Yes, if those pawns are traded, then yes, the c6 pawn is more vulnerable. I fully agree.
And this is a little bit long-winded, for which I apologize to everybody.
Oh, no. That was a very, very profound analysis, and that's exactly what I was hoping for as an answer. That those are the main points of this middle game, and as you said, even though it's a slight advantage for white, if any, but it's easier to play as white.
Yes.
For many of the reasons that you highlighted, I'm just gonna once again mention some of those, which everyone can see how this is a bit problematic to connect the rooks and decide where this bishop should go. Even if we place it on e6, it's not exactly clear what is our counterplay, what's the active plan we are going for. So we're going to try to learn from this game and from the next model games what are some of the ideas we can go for. This one, by the way, is played by Andrew Tang with the black pieces. That's
Oh,
Penguin GM. And he played it in a blitz game, but for him, that's almost like a classical game if we compare it to his bullet skills.
yeah, meaning for Andrew, a blitz game is like 90 minutes for somebody else. Hey, Matt Quick Chess, thank you so much for the cheer. That's very greatly appreciated.
So, because of that, what you mentioned about the light squared bishop and the rooks and such, he goes for rook b4, immediately putting pressure on f4. So instead of taking on f4, he wants white to take on d6. I think we can all understand we would love to have the queen on d6 and the rook on the fourth rank in
I
general,
like
putting
it.
pressure. Yeah, I think this is one of the really cool ideas we can learn from. Of course, white is not forced to take and can play Dina's knight e2. Dina's knight e2 is there as a response. And now, once again, the question is, what have we achieved or how to continue? Well, Andrew simply went rook e8, which is a useful developing
Yep.
move, placing the rook on the e file, which is now covered by the e2 knight. So this move order allows him to place the rook there without having to capture back on e8 with the queen if necessary. Well, it wouldn't be possible because of tactics, but I mean, if we were to think about rook e8 and move earlier instead of rook b4, then the problem is the
The
tactics
bishop.
that yeah, the queen is overloaded and we don't really want to place the rook on e8 to take back on e8 with the knight. That's not the whole point of rook e8.
No.
So and that's why I think this move order is very smart, because after rook b4, either white has to do something about these bishops or allow us to place the rook on e8. So this is an improvement already for our setup.
Not
White
to
plays
mention, not to
c3.
mention, he
Sorry.
could play knight e4. I'm sorry, not to interrupt. I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
thinking.
no, I think that's a very good point, because white plays c3 because white has to do something. The knight cannot continue any maneuvers until there's pressure between the bishops, but white doesn't want to take on d6. So then what do? He played c3 uh, because if white doesn't do anything active, as you said, knight e4 could come next move, and white and black is doing really well in that position. So c3, and now let's think where to place this rook. Where would you go with the rook? Not that there are many available options, but I'm curious.
Well, I already learned when I looked very briefly into the engine. There is this rook b7 motive,
Yes.
and that's the natural move in this position.
Tell us why it's natural, because it looks funky.
Well, it connects the rooks in a weird way, because you're gonna swing the rook over to e7 and defends the a7 pawn, and also patrols the f7 pawn, or that the f7 pawn is being attacked. But in other
Mm-hmm.
words, it's a very active move, and
Yeah.
defending that pawn on a7 is actually useful in quite a few variations.
Mm-hmm.
And as Worship said, you're going to double. So
Yes. Very good. Rook b7 is the best move, and that's how we're gonna connect the rook. So without moving the bishop away from the back rank, we are planning to double rooks. And the reason why black is not placing the bishop on e6 or elsewhere, it's because it's not doing better on e6 than on c8. Unfortunately, for that light square bishop, we still need to wait and see where the ideal square for that bishop will be. But in the meantime, we are connecting the rooks in this funny way of bringing it through the seventh rank, which I think is really instructive.
mhm.
Very well spotted, Nikola.
Yeah.
Knight d4 was played in the game, and let's see how would you react to this move.
Okay, so I'm having a problem with that my c6 pawn is being attacked, and I need
Yeah.
to do something about it.
Yeah. What
Uh,
candidate moves would you have here?
um, I can borrow the page from that rook b4 move, and basically, well, I can't, because that's
Mhm.
the stupid. I wanted to play queen c7, but um, then he takes, and then I really don't want to take with e8 unless I have to.
Yeah.
So I cannot play bishop d7 because of this, and I can continue the active rook team and play rook c7.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it.
Okay. So final candidate moves after you've thought about this position. What are your final
All right, so it's rook
candidates?
c7. I can. I really don't. I mean, I really don't. I mean, I can play queen d7, and then the rook is defended. The pawn is defended. If I take on e8 with the queen, but then bishop is not falling, so I can't do that. I'm overloading my own queen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, the only good move is rook c7.
Do you think so?
Unless I'm missing something obvious, which wouldn't be surprising. As I said, this is, and, you know, is now a good time to play c5?
What would happen after c5? What do you think?
c5, bishop, knight b5, or knight f5. b5 is probably better. Then I need to do something with the rook. Actually, I can even play bishop b8. Not that it's a good move, but just thinking loud.
Mm-hmm.
I can also take on f4 and then play a6, and basically that knight then come on d6, and I'm in trouble.
Let's take a look at that position. So you're saying after c5, knight b5.
Mm-hmm. If I play this and this, there is a threat of knight d6.
Yeah.
That's a little bit annoying to defend. The rooks are still not connected. Can I play rook d7? I can. You see, that's one of the reasons I don't like this position. It's all very fine and very unnatural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, this is a very concrete position that requires precise calculation and taking some not that simple decisions.
Yeah. All right, so let's see here. Do I want to take? No. I can. That actually may not be a bad move, and then I can swing the rook over to d7. Then
So
what?
your line would be?
The line would be, let me turn this off. So, okay, takes. Do you want me to make the moves? I'll make
Yeah,
the
you
moves.
can.
And then this. And what am I missing anything here? Or I can even play, hold on. Actually, instead of playing rook d7, I am better off just swinging this rook here completely.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I'd be curious to see the computer evaluation of this position.
Mm-hmm.
But then there is this. But no, that loses the knight. That's sorry.
But it's good that you pointed out it has to be checked. The knight on f6 is still protecting the rook on e8 in the end, yes.
Yes. And yeah, this is actually fine.
And it's the correct assessment. This is about an equal position. Definitely still there's a lot to play for. Three possible results I would call it, because it's not a symmetrical position, it's not an obvious plans position, but that's the way to go. c5 is the best move here, and not being worried about knight b5 because of that concrete line that you calculated, because it does look scary, knight b5 and the jump then to d6. So it was really necessary to calculate it and justify that line with an actual variation that works out well for black. So very good job there. It happened in the game. I just wanted to compare it to rook c7, which you mentioned first as your choice.
Yeah,
What would
that's
you do here as white?
this is too passive.
Mhm. If you were to play this position as white, because I like to turn the tables on Nikola,
Sure.
then what do you think would be your way to continue? It's passive, but how can you keep making progress for white or punish black for this move order? Not a blunder. I'm just saying that white is better here.
Okay. Well, I can lose the pawn rather quickly
Mm-hmm.
because if I, then I'm almost forced to take with a knight. Because if I don't take with a knight, well, then this bishop is hanging to begin with. So I have to take
Yes.
with a knight.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can do something on the line, stakes, and, no, hold on, let me think for a second. So takes and takes. Then I play rook e1 and I continue the frets.
Yep. Very good. Rookie one.
And I keep the initiative. And then if the knight goes back on f6, there is this slice thingy.
Oh, I didn't even notice about the bishop h6 one, but
Well, the
everything you
queen
said
the
earlier.
queen is there, so it's not really valid. But it's on top of it. If the knight doesn't move, there is rook e8 and takes on d6. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
very tricky and rather unpleasant position.
Yeah. Do you want to play out those moves to show everyone what you were talking about? The line?
Sure. Okay, so we can do this and then this, and here, you know, uh, play this, and then what does black do here? Brings the
What's the
knight.
threat of white after rook e1?
Oh, sure.
You mentioned it already, just if we can show
Yeah,
it to anyone who may not
yeah,
have
of
caught
course.
it.
There you go. It takes, and then takes, and then takes the bishop.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So
So this is basically why you said rook c7 is passive, and now you've just punished it as white. This it's not a decisive forcing line that wins
no.
immediately, but white is more active. White has the initiative, and black is still struggling to find the best possible piece placement, which will take some time. So this
Yeah,
is definitely very good for white.
yeah. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you today. It's
No, no, no,
and
no worries.
this cluster of pieces is troublesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I presume that wasn't played in the game, right? The, c5, right, was played.
See if I was played. I was curious if you will think I just made this up again as usual because I do like
Well,
sidelines. But c5 was played. Knight b5 has to be calculated. White went the other way, which also
f5.
has to be addressed. Yeah, how do we react to knight f5? That happened in the game.
Okay. Okay, that's a more. Well, there is an ugly threat that needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Something on the lines of, well, there is a knight h5. I was thinking in terms of do this and then this or this, but
Uh-huh.
black has knight h5 and then it turns the tables. So that's really not the threat. And obviously, this bishop is under attack twice. And again, the knight threatens to hop on d6 after some sort of a position of this kind. And as opposed to the position before, we don't have this rook e7 move.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we don't.
Okay.
What do you consider as candidate moves here for black?
Well, black can actually go for exchanges.
Mm-hmm.
and we can discuss what's the right order. And the question here is, this knight has, can be very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Swinging the rook over, black can be faster, so black can end up being the side that controls the e file. So yeah, right. You're right, Lally. Queen g3, knight h5, knight h6 is
Mm-hmm.
actually a pretty interesting line. Um, so, all right. So the evaluation of this position is that there are no direct threats. There is no mate. This pawn is defended.
Mm-hmm.
And the black has just exchanged two sets of light pieces, which should help him feel less cramped. So that's what I would probably go for, Anna, here in this position.
All right. So is that your final decision? And if so, will you play out an example line?
Okay. Sure.
I'm trying to make Nikola doubt his own lines.
So
Is
I
this
can.
your final call?
Is this your final answer? Yeah, maybe we should add to this. Do I get a lifeline or a poll?
You want to call a friend?
Or a poll of chat members?
Yes.
Actually, we should do that.
I think that would be great.
Actually, seriously, we should do that. Call a chat.
Call a
yes.
chat.
All right. So, yeah. So we can do this. I can take here and then take here, and that looks like the right order.
Yes. So the reason why you take on f5 first, again, if you would play out those moves.
Yeah. You want this rook to be defended.
Yeah.
So basically play this, and I mean, that actually loses a piece for white, so it's not a good move.
Mm-hmm.
So basically white has to take, and then we take here, and then we do this, and I don't think I'm worse here, Anna.
Very, very well summarized, and also the evaluation is the correct one. Eliminating that knight is crucial. So I think it's something that, well, maybe even those of us, I'm a fan of the pair of bishops, but I also am a huge fan of knights on f5 or f4, depending on the perspective. That's a beast, and keeping that alive, even if it wasn't for something immediate with queen g3 and knight h6, it's such a powerful attacking piece that the position would need to have a lot of defenders around the black king to even think about keeping that on the board. So very good job, and also very good job with the move order. Bishop takes f5 is the most precise. Here in the game, black could have taken immediately, and I think that's a perfectly fine line. He decided to play rook e7 first and keep the tension between the bishops for now. Also makes sense. As long as the knight is gone, you have the choice whether to take first or double rooks. So after rook e7, obviously white has to now address what's going to happen on the e file. He took on e7. How would you take back on e7, Nikola?
Good question.
As an intuition, it may not have such a weight, but I'm curious.
I mean, queen e7, I think battery is probably stronger than no battery. So yeah. I would take with the queen.
Yeah. I think sometimes we may end up complicating things too much by just saying, oh, but if white takes, the queen will have to leave the e file anyway. But that already means that white took on d6. So let's let's give that option to white to take on d6 if they don't want us to have the battery on the file.
Uh, But this also has a concrete thing, you know. If white allows me to take on f4 and then
Mm-hmm.
play queen e5,
Yeah.
I ended up having an active rook, and black might actually end up being better in that position. Or
Yeah. Shall we take a look at that quickly with
sure,
just if we play let me play rook d1 or a4. Yeah, something that doesn't prevent the trade.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
this and it has to. I don't see any. Well, technically, this is possibility, but that defends everything. But okay,
I
but
think you would like to play that position as black.
I would love to play that position as black. And now the good news here is that white bishop doesn't really have a good spot. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and if he plays it here, if I exchange, my rook is active. You know, I'm better in this position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Very good. Very well spotted. And also, just one question to add, because Storm was saying if bishop d2 to keep the pair of bishops. I don't think black was afraid of white being able to do that if it takes some kind of passivity to to maintain the two bishops. So it depends um, to what extent it is worth it. I think storm means the position of the queen takes e7 here. No, sorry. After doubling rooks, I'm guessing. Um, yes, white can go back to d2 if they want to, but whose bishop is better now? It's true that white kept a pair of bishops, but that's not everything in itself. And when you trade pieces, always compare the power of those pieces, how well they are placed, how powerful they are. By placing the bishop on d2, it worsens the bishop's situation. It does keep the bishop on the board, but it's less active as it was before. So
Uh,
it's pros and cons. Yeah, white can keep it on the board, but white didn't think it was worth it. And I think black can continue here with powerful moves. What would you do here if this was the case, Nikola?
okay. I can just put that bishop on c7 and maybe find an. I mean, that bishop is very active. I can potentially have a battery if I put queen on d6.
Yeah, this is a potential battery.
Yeah.
And
So
what else
that's.
would you seek as improvement for your pieces?
I think my knight is very well placed as it is.
Uh huh.
Um, I don't see any benefit to exchanging rooks because my rooks are actually active.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hey, Moodley123, it's very good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for the follow. That's very greatly appreciated. I like this position for black, to be honest with you. Some, you know, you can also start, and actually the pawn structure as it is probably best left alone because those two pawns are very strong the way they
Mm-hmm.
are.
Yes.
I would just play bishop c7 and play queen d6. Then I can play rook e5, and then if white allows me, I can have Alekhine's battery on queen e7,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm happy in this position.
Yeah, I think one way to go, as you said, is bishop c7 and play for the battery. Um, and another immediate way of questioning whether bishop d2 was worth it is if you jump to e4 immediately. I know you said you like the knight on f6, but I think
Yeah,
you will also like it on e4.
sure.
And now, if white wants to keep the pair of bishops, he has to move the bishop again, and I'm not quite sure where you move it. To c1, that will leave us with the question: isn't black winning on the spot with some tactical motive about the rook on e1? So I don't even think that white can insist on this idea of keeping the pair of bishops.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was a
true.
good question, but in a concrete line, it would take a move like bishop c1 to keep that piece still on the board, which is
Sure.
It cannot be the right move, because in the meantime black has activated all their pieces, so we cannot give up everything for ideologically having the pair of bishops. It's great to have the pair of bishops, but you would love to keep them with active moves. If you need to go passive for it, it isn't worth it.
Sure. And
So
we want. I'll please nobody clip this and send it to Hammer. Please don't.
true. Please don't. We never said it. The pair of bishops is everything. You can clip this for Hammer. At the queen e7, white played rook d1, and black did take. Queen e5 is an option here, but I think now that the white rook is active, it's not exactly the same endgame. So black ended up playing queen e2. Well, this makes sense too. hanging stuff everywhere. Queen e2, and after queen d2, interestingly, actually, I'm not gonna say yet. What would you do here, Nikola?
As black?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I like this position.
Would you trade queens or not?
Well, to follow on this, I was always told that knight and queen cooperate really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably try to keep the queen. The question is, what's the best way to do it? I mean, I can also play. I can also take and then get the rook on a1, which is a very weak pawn. I don't see any tactical motives here. What I would play in this position, frankly, if it's a fast time control, I would play rook e5 and see where that bishop ends up going.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop d3. I don't have any more candidate moves, to be honest with you.
I think those are great candidate moves.
Yeah, follow is saying queen h5. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good move, because then you're threatening rook e2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also asking the question of the bishop. But then he can play bishop d3. And okay. Thing is, for whatever reason, these two pawns are further advanced than these two.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a potential of a very quick passed pawn. I can also say forget about it and play queen e5.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is one of those positions when it's not immediately obvious which move is better.
Yeah. I'm just asking about your intuition and personal preference, because there are a couple of moves that are good here for black.
I mean, my bias for simplification would probably lead me to exchange, which may or may not be a good thing. Somehow queen e5 maintaining the battery is very appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably play queen e5.
Queen e5 was also the choice of Andrew Tang, so well done on that.
Okay, good.
You are in
Finally.
sync.
Finally.
But also queen takes d2 makes sense. So, and I think this was a blitz game too, so we shall add that probably he wanted to keep the queen on the board for the queen and knight, how well they coordinate, and it's short time control, so that adds even more power to that duo, the queen and knight. But queen takes d2 also makes sense, and this is an endgame that you were aiming for earlier, so I was curious whether you would go for the trade or not. What do you think of this position, and how would you improve black's position? We're just going to look at this very briefly. What do
Well,
you think shall be the way to
I
go?
have a very active rook, so I can give a check and put it here,
Uh-huh.
and then this rook is basically permanently committed to staying here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can then bring the king to the center and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That that
giving this check, very good. Just to push the white king away, activate our rook even further. You can go rook a1 immediately or keep the rook on the e file and first activate the king because this king has its path paved all the way to d6 and maybe even e5, depends.
yeah,
Why the white king is gonna be struggling to find a path for activation. So very well spotted that this endgame is also better for black.
sure. No, I would be very happy to play this in a context of an adoption match.
I think you would play this very well, and also objectively, this is the best for black. This endgame is quite an advantage. Um, Not decisive, of course, but super unpleasant for white to play. And Queen e5 is also strong, but I think that was also about this being a blitz game, trickier to keep the queen and the knight on the board as a combination. So that's a different context. But Queen e5 was played in the game. I'll show you the next few moves, but I think this is where it becomes less relevant since this endgame was one of the options after Queen e5. Oh, how do I go back? This is where I should promote the lines. I never learn. John told me so many times and I keep forgetting it. Uh
I, as everybody here knows, I have a huge respect for John, but I'll venture to say that I'm much more forgiving about line promotion than he was. He has a mathematical mind, so he wants everything to be organized. And like my chess, I actually the enjoy messiness. So
I'm glad you enjoy mess because this started to be really
ouch,
aggressive.
ouch,
Black just started
ouch.
expanding on the king side. Not quite sure if it was the best or not, but aggressive for sure. Queen f3, king g7, g3, h4. This was the game.
All right. So we have a question from Hoff Believer.
Yes.
Are we ever get to see Anna try to adopt Nikola?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if Nikola would even want that because it would be about me not getting adopted. Nikola
That's
has a
that's
really good
that's
result against me.
that's very kind of Anna, but that's not true. I let me say this. I think the whole story about I think the stories about apprentice beating the master is always very it has its significant historical appeal. But let me say this: if it happens, it's going to happen in a distant future. It's not going to happen now. I need Anna to be on my side.
Thank you for that. I also need you to be on my side, Nicola.
Yeah, I
I
know.
know what you're capable of, and I'm not very competitive, guys. So I don't think I would even be able to give the
And
100% battle to Nicola
sure,
that he deserves for those training matches.
fair enough. And to be quite frank with you guys, let me get Alessia and Alexandra and Anna Maya and a few other. Let me avoid those adoptions before after all, Anna is an international master, open international master, so she's a very strong player. So I don't want to go there. So
Thank you. Well, you did very well against Amon, so I know what you're capable of.
thank you. All right. So who was Andrew playing against, if I may ask?
I don't know his opponent, but he's a 22-34 rated. I would
Okay.
guess. I'm not sure if FIDE Master or not. Depends on if he had 23 before. But it was a title Tuesday on chess.com, and I just liked how this part already is irrelevant for us. But I do think that we can learn a lot from how simple but efficient this idea is about. You do play with Rook B8, but then Rook B4 to
That's a
to
great move.
ask
That's a great
ask
move.
this bishop, yes. And
That's a
if
great
knight
move.
e2, that blocks the e5, so we can develop our rook to e8. And in case the rook is chased away, we go back to b7 to connect the rooks this way, and the bishop stays on c8 because on e6 it's not as useful. So this is one of the ideas I thought we can learn from this game, and I have two more model games to show you, Nicola,
Okay.
if you are ready.
I'm as ready as ever going to be.
Let me just
You
save
know,
this and open the
the
other one.
story of my life. Get some torture from Dina Belinkaya on Sunday. Get self torture on Monday, and now get tortured by Anna on Wednesday. Okay. But all kidding aside, thank you for doing this. I really felt very uncomfortable playing in Scotch, and already I'm seeing quite a lot of very useful motifs here. Like rook b4 is an absolutely brilliant move. The rook b7 I was already familiar with. I just never got to play in it,
Hmm.
and I see why it's useful. It really is a good move because it you don't need to make a decision what to do with a queen and a rook on the bishop on c8 to basically activate both rooks.
Yes. 1 second. I'm just trying to decide the order. Let's start with this one. So the next game is also a Blitz chess.com game, but it's from the Speed Chess Championship, played by two 2600 rated juniors. So I thought it deserves a mention. Benjamin Gladura from Hungary with the white pieces, and Awander Liang with the black pieces. I think Awander
Okay.
needs no introduction.
When you say juniors, what age group is that?
Under 20,
Under 20. Okay.
but I think they are even younger. Awander, I think, is still only 16, and Benjamin would maybe be turning now 20.
Okay.
Benjamin is one of the prodigies and most talented player, most promising player nowadays in Hungary. He's on the
Oh,
Olympic team
nice.
of Hungary,
Okay.
and I wonder. I think soon should be on the Olympic team if he continues like this. Not that it's easy to get into the U.S. Olympic team,
No.
but it's
It-
also not that easy in Hungary. So I think these two have the potential for sure.
Wonderful. Just for my benefit, who won this game? Did Andrew manage to win this?
Yes, yes, Andrew won the game. I'll send you the full game
Thank you.
in case you want to go through it. I just thought that the rest of the game wasn't that much about the Scotch, but Andrew's blitz kills.
Sure.
So the next one will be similar in a way, but it will add a few more ideas to what we have seen. Rugby. Actually, let's play that from move one. I let you play those moves out. If you
Sure.
could you make it in a way that you are making the moves with the mouse on the board, even though it's
Sure.
next to the board, the text. But I would prefer that you play out the moves.
Okay. So let's start with four knights. Am I making the right moves?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, this is all normal theory. Okay. And then castles, h3, c6. This is basically following the same line as our previous game, right?
Yes. Yeah, it will be
Okay.
similar, very similar the pattern. Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Yes. And the
okay.
same
So this
here
is
as well.
basically nowadays a standard motive. Good to know.
Yes, yeah, I'm guessing that someone discovered it and others realized that it makes perfect sense. So rook b4 has become quite a trending move. Knight e2 is one of the most common responses because, as we already highlighted, if white takes, that helps our queen to be activated. The knight on c3 is not well placed anyway, so knight e2 makes sense in that sense too. That you try to drive the knight away to be ready to push the c pawn. So knight e2, I think, is the best response. And here, I think rook e8 is my preference, and that's what I would suggest to you to play it the way we saw it in Andrew's game.
Okay.
but I wanted to compare it to other possibilities too and see what we can pick up from other games. So in this game, Black played a5
Okay.
with the intention being a4, I believe.
Okay, that makes sense. And C3 was played, I presume, right?
c3 would be one of the options. I think if c3 was gonna be played, we know where the rook goes.
Yeah.
Even if we didn't play rook e8 first, this rook e7 move still makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So rook b7 is gonna be our standard. Um, we don't really need to worry about moves like bishop a6. That's thank you for trading a bishop that hasn't been moved at all. So that's not an issue. And also, I think there's nothing wrong with not being able to go a4. So a5 is with the idea of pushing a4, but we either can give it up as a pawn sacrifice to destroy the pawn structure of white for that sacrifice pawn and try to win that pawn back later, or we can prepare it to be pushed sometime in the near future, but
Yeah.
not immediately.
No, it's a useful move. Hey, Daniel, it's very good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Uh, Anna is torturing me in Scotch.
It's not too bad this time. I'm missing the very crazy lines where you have to calculate 10 moves,
Yeah.
opposite color, opposite side castling. But yeah, this is a strategic torture. So a5 was played, and in the game, white reacted with c4. What would you do here?
Ooh. Okay. That's uh, all right. So okay, that's actually a very common motif here, and
Yeah.
we are a little. All right, let me think for a second because this
Mm-hmm.
is an interesting position. I can play H a4 immediately,
Uh-huh.
or I can do something along, or well, you know what, my a6 blunder may actually kind of work in this position.
Hmm.
I can exchange and depend if I can exchange, and then if white takes with the queen, I can basically then push a4
Mm-hmm.
because the pawn is pinned.
Yes.
And if it takes with the knight, I can push d4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very good. The conclusion you got to. So, in this position, normally we would want to keep the pressure, the tension between those two bishops, but here it makes perfect sense to take it because, as you said, if queen takes, there's a pin on the fourth rank
Yeah,
and then a4, and if the black bishop is taken with the knight, then first of all, this knight is not coming this way. So that's already a direction that has been decided, and we can continue with a4.
yeah,
I think this was the way to go. It wasn't played by a wonder, but it's a blitz game, so I'm gonna give him a pass for this. I'm gonna give him a pass.
yeah. That c4 doesn't look. That looks premature, to be very frank with you. Just looking
Yeah.
in depth.
Yes. C4. I understand from White's perspective that cutting the rook away makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
but c4 in itself is not gonna do much to Black's position until there's something like knight coming to d4, the rook on d1. So it takes a couple of moves for that move to be strong and threatened with something direct. I I like a lot that you take on f4 and ask White will you want the queen to be pinned on the fourth rank, or will you want the knight to come toward f4? Because it would be better for the white knight to be on d4 and
d4.
attack the
Yep.
c6 pawn. So one way or the other, white has to give up on one of the ideas. And yeah, I think this was the way to go. What happened in the game? We'll look at what happened in the game and how black could have been punished by starting with a4. What would you play here as white? So we are learning about this position also from white's perspective and the dangers in the position. It's not a blunder, but it could have gotten really unpleasant.
Well, I'm now basically, am I not, I'm allowing knight d4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a very concrete threat that needs to be addressed.
Yep.
And how do you address it is an interesting question.
Yes, let's list a couple of moves for black that deals
Yeah.
with this threat.
Well, all right. So, all right. So this is ugly. So we can eliminate that. This puts white black in a danger of trapping the rook, so it can't be played.
Mm-hmm.
Putting here you need to exchange first.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Doing something like this, it puts, if when white plays rook c1, this is a nasty threat of taking here and the queen is pinned.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing concrete, but it's not pleasant. And on top of it, then takes, and then it can take on c6. The problem is separate if you do bishop b7, there is bishop d2, and then this rook needs to go somewhere. And when it goes to b6, bishop a5 loses the exchange.
That's unfortunate, but yes, the rook gets
So
trapped.
you can't, unfortunately, play it. That would be the most natural move, but you can't do it. It's all right. So you can play this.
Can you?
No, I can, and meaning after exchanging the bishops.
Mm-hmm. After exchanging the bishops. Okay.
Yeah.
So bishop takes f4, and then you go queen b6.
Yeah. That's at least I'm putting pressure on this pawn. It's not pleasant.
Okay, if bishop takes f4, what would be your line?
Okay, bishop takes, queen takes, and then it's all new ball game here, right? I cannot be queen c7, queen d7 kills this bishop, and then there is this nasty threat, so at least this threatens some potential c5 d4 thing, which would be better for black.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also threatening to take on b3 at some point.
So bishop takes f4.
Okay, bishop takes f4. There is something better than queen takes on b4 on f4.
I don't know.
You're saying, that, oh, okay, you can take on c6 before. Yeah, okay.
Very good.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
I was trying not to ask too directly, but very well spotted.
Fair
that
enough. Yeah, not
there are
too late.
alternatives there. So bishop takes f4 is too late for black because there's an intermediate move, knight takes c6, attacking the queen and the rook, and the bishop is still hanging, so white is winning material.
Can you repeat that? I got distracted by a troll in chat who called me a Serbian spy.
I love
Thanks.
the chat today.
The
People
chat today
are
is
people.
fabulous. Thank you.
um, yes. So
All
knight
right.
takes c6 is a very strong intermediate move that attacks the queen, the rook, and the bishop is still hanging. So white will end up winning material here.
Yeah, that's a Zwischenzug that actually wins the game for white.
Yeah, and that's why your idea of taking on f4 first and then a4 makes a whole lot of difference, because imagine if it was queen takes f4,
Yeah,
a4, knight d4. Now, this position should still be decent, as you were describing that here black has
yeah.
options, but we don't get this position from the other line because of knight takes c6.
Okay. Yeah, no, that knight d4 is really annoying. Okay, so we can't take on f4 for that reason. What can we do? Thank you, Hedgehog. I appreciate it. So what do we do here? So we can't take on f4. So what do we have to do? We have to play queen c7, I guess. Unless we queen d7, bishop f5 is ugly. Queen b6, it's almost, so it's basically the only move.
Which one is the only move?
Well, I disabused myself for playing rook b6. And the way this is looking, it's going to end up being the best move in the position, because these two are the only candidate moves, and Anna is having a very good time enjoying herself.
Yes.
Good.
But it's the best move.
Rook b6?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not.
It still looks terrible. It still looks
awful.
terrible, but at least it doesn't lose material. So sometimes you gotta go with the least bad.
Yeah, no, I completely understand this, and which is why which you are doing this. So that's better than queen c7.
Let's refute queen c7. There's something wrong with queen c7.
Okay. All right. This is when I get into trouble in actual games. Oh, geez. Yeah. Well, I already said this.
I was gonna say that you've seen this in other lines too, this idea.
Yeah. Well, it's... Hold on. That's not it, actually. Hold on.
I was thinking you're referring to another one, another line.
No, I can do this and then move the rook, and then I can play. What can I play? I guess the rook needs to go somewhere, and it can't go on b6. Let's say it goes to b7. And all right, I'm still missing something. I keep returning to this threat of rook c1.
That's a very good intuition.
I can actually do plate now, I think. All right, so what's the line? The line is rook, bishop d2.
Yeah.
Let's assume we played this. Then we play rook c1. And then we have all sorts of interesting threats in the position, from taking on d5 to pushing on c5 to whatever.
Yeah, that's one of the best lines. Yes.
That looks like a crashing position for white, or soon to become crashing.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Very good job. Bishop d2 and bishop d2, rook a c1. All the white pieces are playing, and black black's position is a nightmare. There's one way to win material immediately as white, but I don't even know if it's better than what you described, because the other one makes perfect sense and is decisive advantage.
And Reagan,
So
to answer your question about FIDE rating, I never played a FIDE rated game in my life. I only played 3 USCF rated games in one tournament, and USCF forces you to start with a rating of 800,
mhm.
and my rating is now 1597 because I played 3 games and won 3 games. So I'm technically
Very good.
1600 player. So
Very good job.
yeah,
But
well,
Nicola's strength is 2000 at least in terms of FIDE
uh,
rating.
that's fine. Thank you, Anna.
That's just an objective evaluation. It could well be beyond by now.
Okay.
So I'm really proud of your progress.
Thank you. All right, so what did this gentleman end up playing? Just for my curiosity.
Well, he wasn't punished for pushing a4 instead of taking on f4 first. But we know that that move order would have made a lot of difference if it was gonna be knight d4 that Benjamin goes for. He did not. He took on d6. This is surprising because it that gives away this one move option that he had to punish black. So in the end, it it has become similar to the position what we were saying. If you had taken on f4 and then a4, not exactly the same, but similar ideas we're gonna see now.
Okay,
But your move order was the precise one. This is not precise. So
gotcha.
after queen takes d6, um, I think white was also just trying to define the pawn structure, because a pawn structure like this, it's still so flexible. Black can decide to push d4. Black can decide to take on c4 if there is something concrete there, or black can just leave the pawn structure as it is or push c5. So there's a lot to count on, and that's one of the reasons why I think oftentimes white wants to force a response and takes on d5. So how would you take back on d5, Nicola?
Okay, and just to thank you, Sepper, you're very kind. I'm not an NM, and that. Let me put it this way: I would love to be one, and I'm kind of hoping to become one to play in
Mm.
Title Tuesday if you want. That's kind of the goal, but there is still a road ahead there. But thank you. That's very kind of you. And thank you, Budapest Gambit, for the follow. So, well, I've that pawn on. Well, rook before a4 idea really is proving its worth in this position. Um, how would I take? Well, there are 3 possible takes, right? With a pawn, with a queen, and with a knight. I still believe that knight is really well placed on f6,
Mm-hmm.
and queen offers an exchange of queens, and basically it almost forces an exchange of queens, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes,
the real question here is: it beneficial for black to keep the queens on board or not?
good question.
Um, that knight on e2 and bishop on d3 are not exquisitely well placed.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would probably do here is bishop on c8 is not active. If I take with a queen, I'm facing bishop c4, and that bishop from a weakness becomes this, and then this pawn on d5 would basically dominate white bishop. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
take with a pawn.
Mm-hmm. Yes. As you mentioned, both queen takes d5 and queen takes d5 makes sense. Knight takes d5 is the least appealing, since it is well placed on f6, and if it will go anywhere, it's gonna be the e4 square. But for that, we need support
Yeah.
of a pawn on d5.
And
Very
this
good job.
takes away c4 from the bishop.
Yes. Yeah, very good.
And I'm going to say this, and I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, Anna, is
You aren't.
no, playing against the Dina really helped me understand these positions better. All joking aside, all kidding aside, all adoption challenges aside, and all that stuff, this was really exquisitely useful because, anyway, just as a side note.
But that's a very important side note, and that's why you organize those matches to
Sure.
improve your chess and learn from those games. And as you said, playing the Scotch too, you had these middle games 4 times, different versions, but 4 times
Yeah.
similar positions. That makes you reflect a lot on them, and it's very different how we learn from our own games and
Yeah.
going through trying to figure out the plan and whatnot, and as when we are just spectating a game where there's not much pressure on us and there's nothing at stake. We can take back the moves if we don't figure them out, or we can be just passively watching a broadcast and see what the top players are doing at their tournament. So I think you found the best way to improve massively and at such speed, because you're forcing yourself into
Yeah.
these uncomfortable situations, getting out of your comfort zone a lot of times with the positions too. So it's great.
Yeah. No, thank you, Anna. All right. So the question here is, if the question here is whose position I would prefer, I'm almost willing to say that black has turned around.
Yes.
This looks much more comfortable for black. This pawn is a question mark. If it takes, then this pawn is backwards. This pawn is actually a central pawn that dominates the center. This bishop can go to a6 with, or even b7 and then push d4 if we so desire. I'm not saying that's a good plan, but it can support. Knight can jump on e4. It's okay. This is very well played.
Yeah. And we now know the move order as well. So for for a game, this idea is great, but bishop f4, just to be more precise, because that was the only flaw in black's plan, that knight d4 was an option for one move. We can take a look at the next few moves to see how the game developed, but this was the basic idea to show once again this rook b4, but also how you can combine it with the a5 a4 push.
Yep. No, a5 a4 push early is very useful. Rook b4 is a brilliant move. It's
Yeah.
basic. So that's basically standard theory these days. Okay.
Yes, I think so, but
Yeah.
it's already like well into the line. So I think I've seen it in grandmasters games, but I don't, unless someone is just fully booked up on theory, I don't think it's natural.
No, and very honestly, I owe you a huge debt of gratitude because you and I were playing. You were showing me that Karo Khan game the other time, and I understood and I looked it up a little bit why taking on h5 as opposed to pushing on g5, which feels natural, is actually the right decision in Karo Khan,
Huh.
and that it came up in a match against Dina.
Great. I'm happy to hear that. I'm
Yes,
happy
no, no,
to hear
no,
that.
no. It's just you know, very, very grateful for that. I mean,
I'm glad. I'm glad that the sessions are useful. Here, I also would prefer black's position after a4. There's a direct question. What's white about to do with the b3 pawn? If white takes on a4, these positions are just really nice for black. As you said, central pawn. Oh, I think we have Diana visiting us though. Shout out
Diana,
to
thank you
Diana.
for the raid, and I hope we don't have a follower on anymore. Thank you, guys. Diana, thank you so much for the raid and party of 60. That's very greatly appreciated. Please give a shout out to Diana Mirza. She is an Irish streamer and a great lady and a great friend and VIP in this channel. For the raiders who are seeing us for the first time, this is Nikola's chess with the one and only legend, international master Anna Rudolf. Thanks,
Thank you,
Diana. That's
Nikola.
very greatly appreciated. This is basically stream series in which Anna tortures me for the benefit of me learning how to improve. My name is Nikola. I support a lot of chess streamers, but I'm also a streamer myself, and my streams are dedicated to my chess improvements, and you can see the schedule of streams over in the chat. And I like Dirk's comment, Intimidation Master Anna.
Thank you,
And
Dirkie. I like that title.
I like it, and Anna likes it too. You can tell. So, all right. Wholesomely torturing. That's exactly right. Okay.
Indeed. But this
Thanks.
position, I think we can all understand why it is better for black. Not once again, nothing major, but we are just coming out of the opening. So to have a position like this in the middle game after the initial stage of the opening,
Yeah.
this is really nice for black.
Yeah, no, this rook b8 followed with rook b4 is really really appealing, and playing a5 and a4 early and basically eliminate and weakening white's pawn structure is extremely instructive. Okay.
I'll show you the next few moves from the game just to see how it developed. Bishop c2 was played to not have to take on a4, but now, of course, black still takes. There's quite a difference between these two pawns, and black simply decided to place the bishop on the long diagonal. I think that's a decision that Nikola would support.
Oh yeah. Oh please, yes. Attacking the queen, pushing the pawn on d4. This is a nice, very comfortable position for black. Put rook on c8 or e8. Pin stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Jump the knight on e4 at the convenient moment. Oh, thank you, Squirrely, my dear friend, for a raid of 26. Thank you, Squirrely. Please give Squirrely a shout out. And actually, Squirrely is he streams chess in City Streets. Give him a follow if you already haven't. And him and I played some very nice games in the past. And Squirrely, you're always welcome in this channel, you know that, and as you know, respect is mutual, so it's good to see you here. Thank you for the raid, my friend. For the raiders, this is Nikola runs chess with one and only Intimidation Master Anna Rudolf. This is a stream series every Wednesday at 5 in which Anna basically tortures me for the purpose of me learning how to play better chess.
That's indeed the description of the show.
That's a very good description of the show. So thank you, Squirrely, so much for the raid. All right, so
really nice position for black indeed. And as you said, knight d4 could be a potential idea. d4 is right now a move which white can't really stop from happening. White can move the queen away from the long diagonal, but can't really stop us from pushing d4 if we want to. Gladura played knight to g3 to come this way. d4 happened, and after queen d3, I'm gonna ask you, how would you respond here? What would you play as black?
Oh, and Dirkie also raided us, so thank you, Dirkie, for the raid. That's very greatly appreciated. Getting 3 raids in a single stream is nice. So what do I do? Well, you don't really have any threats, Anna, here, right?
I'm just trying to scare you.
Okay, and I can play something like queen d5 and ask the question of where is this, how are you defending the mate on g2? Hey, Artvega, my dear friend, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. It's good to see you, my friend. I could play queen d5 and ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you almost forced to play f3. I don't see any other answer, and then I can go back, and then I can even play something like queen g5, and ask where is that knight going? Well, maybe knight e4, and then that's a line that's kind of a bullet line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's good, but it's there. I can also play queen c6, same question, and then rook c8, and then I can park the queen on c3.
Mm-hmm.
And then that pawn on b3 appears to be ready to be taken.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see anything else that immediately comes to mind. I mean, black is, another option is to play something like knight d5 and then knight f4. Well, you don't want to do. Sorry, obviously.
I was wondering if you will take it back or will I ask?
Yes. That's how I blundered a mate in one against. Against Dina. Thank you very much. Yes.
You told me I'm not threatening anything,
Yeah,
Nikola.
I'm just a mate in one. Thank you. Yeah, no, that knight needs to stay in f6 for rather obvious reasons. But I think there are multiple plans here for black that will result in a win.
Yeah. This is a very promising position. Both queen d5 and queen c6 are strong moves, and it's exactly what you mentioned. If you play with queen d5, you can connect that idea to follow up with queen g5 once f3 has been provoked. I think this is a really strong idea. The other one that was played in the game is queen c6, and now we don't have the option of queen g5, but there's another idea, which
Rook
is to
c8,
bring,
yeah.
yeah, very good, bring the rook to the c file and question white what can they do about the c2 bishop.
Which is
In
actually
the
not that easy to reply to. And Chess Melissa, it's good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, it's really not easy. I think there's only one way in which white could be okay. I don't even know how okay, but at least to not have this awkward situation for the bishop. So there's a there's a strong move here for white, but it's a strong defensive move in a way that at least then the bishop could have a better square.
Well, you have this knight e2 move that asks the question of the pawn on d4, right?
Can you play that now?
No, obviously not. But well, we can. What can we do with that poor bishop? It needs to go to b1, I would think, right?
It's quite sad though if it has to go to b1.
Well, the only threat white has in this position is that mate on that's battery, right? So
Yeah.
hey, Carl from Finland, thank you for the follow, my friend. That's very greatly appreciated. Thank you. I mean, rook c1 is either rook on c1 is actually ugly, and doesn't really prevent taking on knight. I mean, can white defend from queen on c3 and defend the bishop?
Yeah, it's a good point that it's not only queen takes c2 but queen c3. So probably you cannot avoid both.
Yeah, the
But
problem.
in terms of like survival, imagine that you don't want to play neither bishop b1 nor bishop d1 as white. So it's already a bonus if you find a way in which you can have a better square for the bishop. Is there an idea in which you could place the bishop somewhere more active?
Okay, I can. I mean, there is this vision sort of playing. Is it really there? I play queen d2 and then ask the question of rook on b4. But can I then immediately? But then I can actually play then queen c3, right?
Yeah. So this is very important. Nikola's idea, queen d2 is an intermediate move, and if we move the rook b5, rook to b5 or rook to b6, at least it looks like the bishop has some potential. Maybe bishop f5 to attack this rook, so we don't have to place it on b1 or d1. It's still, I think, a really nice position for black, but white has some chances to activate their pieces. But as you said, black can continue with queen c3. So what would be here something decent for white? Because this looks still terrible for white. Let's try to survive with the white pieces now. Just so that the game continues and white doesn't collapse immediately. We are not looking for anything that will be a miracle win for white. It's just to survive this position as much as possible.
Well, I can play this.
Can you?
Well, I don't want to. Well, sorry, wrong arrow. I can play this, but that loses the bishop.
What's the line after knight e4?
Knight takes, and then yep. if queen takes here, takes with a knight. That's
very
not
good. So black is winning a piece in that
line. Black is winning a piece in the game. You can play this, but boy, that's ugly.
I like the comment to it. It really is ugly.
Yeah.
And also, there's something on the board that may not be happy about rook e2.
Something on the board that would not be happy on rook e2. Well, I can just take on f3, and then it's.
Let's just observe all the pieces.
All right, I'm missing some. Oh, yeah, I can play d3, and can I play d3? No, I can't play d3. What am I missing here? So rook e2 doesn't work because of what? And this is where I get into trouble in my games. I don't see this stuff.
You would see it if it wasn't for the 2.5 hours that you've already been tortured for. So
fair enough.
I take credit. I take credit for this. This would be an instant move for you.
All right.
So rook e2 is a blunder because of.
Let's see. Well, rook a1. Jeez. Rook a1 is hanging. Duh.
Yes.
Sorry. That's stupid. So basically the only move that's left is queen e2, right? No, but that still is hangs the bishop. Can we play rook c1? I guess that's the only move, but that hangs the queen. No, the hidden fish. This is an actual game, and we are analyzing. And hello, Evan Mylid. It's very good to see you. Thank you. All right, so we need to find some resource here quickly. All right, I'm blind, Anna. What am I missing?
No, it really is an awfully looking position, and it probably still pretty bad. But
I mean, you can take, yeah, okay.
You can defend the queen and hope for the best for the fact that the bishop cannot be taken since the rook on b4 is still hanging. So just this one tactical idea white has to hold on to the position. Of course, this still looks terrible. So optically, this is still really bad. But it doesn't collapse immediately. So white has some chances. And I think objectively, I was surprised when I looked at this that the engine doesn't think that black is better. I think to the human eye, black is almost winning.
Well, after something along the lines of bishop d5, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing that maybe white also has some ideas because I'm just guessing in what positions could there be back rank issues for black? It's not No, I can't even blunder something that easily on the back rank. Yeah, I
Okay.
I think this position between two human beings, which is the case on most games, is is most likely a win for black or a draw because somehow white survives. But this looks really bad.
I mean, for crying out loud, the it's yeah, yeah. I hear you.
So this would, and this is what would have been the best option for white. So in the game, it didn't even happen because queen d2 had to be found, and then rook ed1, and that was gonna be the best option for white. It didn't happen. Rook ac1 was played, and after rook c1, what would be your continuation here, Nicola?
Okay. Well, that motive for queen c3 is still a pretty good option.
Mm-hmm.
Um, right. Obviously, we can also do something along the lines of. Hey, CDS 2019, thank you for the follow. Honestly, I like this queen c3 idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then followed by bishop, some sort of a bishop on d5, and then basically taking this pawn, and this pawn on c3 is going to win the game for black.
Okay. What if I try to be tricky and after queen c3,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try and make that queen get into trouble, can I?
You can. All right. All right. I can try to out trick you and play this.
Can you?
Well, no, because I'm going to end up being a rook down. Or am I going to end up a rook down?
What line is that?
All right. So takes here. Uh, this takes, takes, and I'm a piece up, right?
I think so.
But that's not the best line for white. All right, so here you can take, and I take, and then you take, and I'm actually mated. Thank you. I'm blundering
Yes.
mates today on a prodigious scale. Thank you, Nikola. All right.
It's only after 2 hours of torture when you start
That's
blundering,
fine.
so it's okay.
No, that's fine. Whatever games I'm gonna play are gonna last longer than 2 games, so that's not
True.
useful. All right. So, are we abandoning this line?
I don't know what's gonna happen to the queen. Can it be saved? Grandmaster Yasser Seyraban in the chat.
Okay.
Yasser,
Yes, sir.
hello.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. That's a deep honor. And please, sir, let's make you a VIP in this channel first and foremost. It's an honor for you to be here.
Yasser is saying, I'm thinking instead of queen c3 to play queen b6 with the idea to play rook c3 and d3 discover check. And that's
Okay.
the spot on line that Awander should have gone for. Yes, this is the game between Benjamin Gladura and Awander Liang.
Okay.
Yasser, so happy to see you. I had to just make sure that is the real Yasser. Yasser was telling
Yeah.
us the
Okay.
story that on
Oh,
his
and
free day he was sorry, Nicola. I just I got very
please, please,
enthusiastic
please. Of
about
course.
Yasser joining us, and also that when he said he had a free day, one of the broadcast days, but he couldn't stay away from the action, and he was in the chat on Twitch. So a couple of users were just asking him like, "Are you the real Yasser?" And and someone wanted to like test him if he's Yasser for real.
Well, it's an honor to have you here, sir. So thank you for showing by. These sessions happen every week at 5 p.m. on Wednesdays. Basically, Anna torturing me with an idea to giving me approve my chess. So um, anyway, and thank you Hedgehog for gifting tier 1 sub to Yasser. That's very greatly appreciated. Okay. All right. So basically, let's declare Queen C3 to be a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah, very tempting move, but
And
I think it's beautiful
yeah,
to see that now the
does
queen can get into trouble, and there's no queen b2 for the same reason. It's like it's double discovered attacks,
yes.
threatening through the c file and also threatening through the second rank. So you gotta be very careful with that queen.
Yeah. So basically, the C3 field needs to be reserved for the actual rook. So
Yeah,
okay. All right.
nicely spotted by
Yes.
Yasser.
Well,
Definitely. I think he passed the test. I think
very
Yasser,
good.
you passed. No, of course, Yasser is a legend, and thank you so much for hanging out with us,
Yeah.
Yasser.
Thank you, yes, sir. That's very greatly appreciated. It's an honor. Okay. So is this going to be one of those situations in which you say this is not what was played in the game?
Yeah. But it almost happened in the game. Almost.
Okay.
So we are on the right track until rook a c1, and I think after rook a c1, uh, in this position, well, we were looking at queen c3. Now we have changed our mind. Queen b6 I think is really strong, and Awander played another idea that is also potentially very strong. It could be a combination of queen b6 and bishop a6 with different move order too. So
Sure.
first queen b6, reserving bishop a6, because with Yasser's idea, if you play queen b6 first, you also have rook c3 at your disposal. So I think that's a more flexible move order, but bishop a6 is of course very strong as well. In this case though, queen, well, the queen doesn't have many squares. Queen d2 was perhaps a better try, but I can understand Gladura going for queen f5. That looks a bit more active. But after queen b6, we are once again in this situation that
Doesn't.
d3 is a discover check, very
Yeah.
unpleasant, not so easy to deal with. So for instance, let's say the king steps out of the diagonal. Nikola, your turn.
Okay. Well, I can't play d3 because I'll be blundering a rook. Okay, so what am I playing in this position? I can't move the knight. I can decide that I'm going to defend the rook and actually threaten it by playing something on the lines of, I can play queen d6,
Mm-hmm.
which is a decent move. I can also ask the question of that. I mean, that queen is in real trouble, isn't she?
Why is she in trouble?
Well, she doesn't have that many fields. If I play rook c5, what does the queen do? Right. I mean, it goes to f4. And then I can actually play d3. Because there is no threat to take the rook on c8.
So your move order is,
Rook c5.
yeah.
And then queen literally has one spot, which is f4.
Mm-hmm.
And then I play d3.
The idea is the right one, but let's see if now you can refute your own variation. So after rook
Okay.
c5, we're gonna turn the tables, and it's white to move after rook c5.
Okay, what am I missing? Well, there is no mate because the knight is defending it. But
No mating one.
but you can take on f6, and I can't take it because I'll get mated. Okay, I refuted myself. Fair enough.
You wanna play at those moves?
Yeah. Thank you. It's yeah. Thank you. After rook c5, queen capture the rook. You mean this?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it
what
can.
Yasser is pointing out.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
In other words, there are two refutations. Yes, sir. The refutation I had in mind, you can just take on f6, and
Can
then.
you though? Now let's play at those moves.
Oh no, am I being? I honest at first this is a very pleasant experience of being tag teamed by the best two commentators in the world, meaning Yasser and Anna here. So okay, thank you, Yasser. That's very nice of you. Yeah, queen can. Yes, thank you. Yes, the queen can capture the rook. All
Yeah,
right.
that's one of the refutations. And why not queen takes f6?
Because I can just take the queen with a pawn, and it's the end of the story. It's been a long session. Okay, fine. That's my
Yeah,
defense. Fair
no,
enough.
that's a very fair point. It's
I'm
been a long
definitely being
session.
spoiled,
So
Hedgehog. Are
this
you
is
kidding
this
me?
is one of the
Thank you.
refutations, indeed.
Yeah.
Let's show just real quick also why this is tempting to eliminate the knight that's that's protecting the back rank, but careful about the
Okay.
option of g takes f6.
Yeah, no, it's
Very
it's
ugly pawn structure, but it's a queen up, so I think
fine,
black will be
fine.
okay.
I got
um,
starstruck. That's my defense. All
it's
right.
okay.
So basically that doesn't work. So we so
Yes, definitely that's the plan. Teamwork.
okay.
Hashtag teamwork.
Okay. I'm gonna actually probably capture this. This is gonna be a YouTube highlight. I promise. Anyway, thank you so much. All right, so basically this doesn't work. So what is my best option here in this position?
Okay, but your idea was, you said the queen on f5 doesn't have many squares. And you said that
Correct.
if you could chase it away from f5, then you have d3, attacking the bishop, d2, then is a fork. So
Correct.
that would be a winning move.
But I can't get that rook off of c8, and that rook is actually hanging. Actually, it's not hanging, but and I cannot play. I cannot chase it by playing rook b5 because that defeats playing the d3 because I'm
Yep.
being masked. All
True.
right, so that's not a useful move.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what do we do here? No, the rook on c8 is defended, Yasser. It's just that if I push, I want to push d3, and then
Mm-hmm.
the rook on c8 is going to be undefended if white takes on d3. That's the idea. Okay, so we don't want to play rook b5. So the only thing that can chase that queen is a lonely pawn. So I can play g6.
g6.
Yeah,
Where
and
can the queen go after
she
g6?
has only one place, which is f4.
Yeah, queen
And
f4 or queen
and then
e5, but very limited options.
yeah,
And in
and
both cases, your response is,
I push d3.
yeah,
And then I
very
take
good.
the pawn, and I'm winning. Actually, yeah, e5, d3 doesn't really make much of a difference. And then actually, I'm not taking pawn on b3. I'm pushing d2, and it's curtains.
Yep, very good job.
Okay.
Indeed, g6 is a winning move. And as active as the queen looked on f5, you pointed it out. It barely had any squares to move to.
No.
Actually, wait a second. I blundered. I must admit, I blundered. I knew that
Okay.
there's still a trick, but I forgot about this final trick. d3 doesn't win. I remember there was one final trick, but I fell into my own trick. Okay, Nikola, you need to refute this.
I need to refute d3 now.
Yes. Yes. At least not to lose as white. Just not to lose. That's as much as we can refute it.
Okay. Right. Okay, so what are my options? Bishop is under attack and d2 is a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a perpetual if I move in a situation when I play this and there is d2?
Yeah, so don't call the arbiter. I can blunder and take my moves back. I forgot about this one final trick, but it's an instructive one, so I'm happy that I've fallen into it too.
Okay, so it pushes. Can I take on g6? What can I do here? All right, so this is a natural line. Fine. Takes, pushes, and whether this actually exchanging on c8 might be useful, or maybe not. But the question here is... okay, so I can play rook c8. And all right. All right, so let's do this. Let's not look for tactics that maybe not be there. I can exchange with c8 and then I can play rook d1.
Okay, so you want
So
to play
that's one
bishop
option.
b1?
Sorry, I'm still thinking.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, you take your time. I wasn't
I
sure if that's
I
your conclusion or not.
I cannot play d1 because I'm going to lose the rook immediately.
True. Yes.
So I'm so can I take on here? No, I cannot because this and because all right. So the line is take on d3, exchange on c1, take on d3, and what do I have? Do I have I have a check for this rook, and then what do I do? I cannot get the queen into attack. Can I? If the queen goes to g7, this is being too complicated for me. Hold on.
It's very complex, but you are on the right track. Let's play those moves out because it's definitely a difficult one
All right, so
to even visualize.
This is the only move, right?
You were just talking about another one, though. I was curious what your conclusion is in that position.
Okay, so you want me to... I mean, there are only two moves with the bishop, which is this.
That one?
Okay.
I thought you were describing another line.
Okay, this is more... okay, so you are saying that there is another line here. Okay, so what I can do is I can take and all right, so I'm actually going to make the moves, and obviously for me to take the bishop I need to take the rook, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so is it so this
Yeah.
and now what? There is, if black plays this, Okay, Vasily Morozov, thank you for the follow. What do I do here? This is where my tactics vision fails me. This is why I lost game 3 against Dina. I didn't see
It
the
may
line.
not be your tactics vision failing you. It may just be a move order that we need to find out about what's the best for white. So
Okay.
let me tell you that
All right.
until here,
Uh-huh.
you're completely right.
So that check doesn't work?
It just may not be the best move order.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You're always so supportive. That's very nice of you. So what do I have here?
And once again, this is nothing obvious, but if you were to play this position as white, what do you think would give you the best chance?
Well, the best chance is to try to attack this. Um, I mean, I'm down a piece, so I'm gonna lose the end game.
Most likely.
If I. Alright, so. I don't have a meaningful check with the queen, and we just concluded that the queen c8 is a dead end. So.
Yeah, the rook check immediately is not that strong.
Correct. I cannot really move the knight because there is no really meaningful move with a knight. I can play knight h5, but that just takes, and that's the problem is even if I put it on h5, take gh5, and then bishop g6, and I don't have anything. So this is a natural move, but that's not a direct threat. If I play knight e4, which is a little bit tricky, actually that might be useful. White takes, and I still don't have anything, and then there is queen b8, so that doesn't work either. Okay.
You're on the right track. You've pointed out the main features in this position. And
Sure.
yes, we are a piece down, so we better have some attack going, even if it's not that direct. But you were saying you were looking at the back rank check, then you were looking at rook c7. Both of those could be stronger if it was built up well. So
Yeah.
what do you think is a move order that could support both ideas and therefore make black's life a bit more difficult to react to it?
Well, if we disappear the knight of f6, then I have a bunch of concrete threats.
Yeah, the knight on f6 is a key defender, that's true.
Okay, and I can disappear it. How?
I don't know if you can.
No.
But I do like your ideas with the pressure on the seventh rank and also sometimes the back rank check. So if you were to connect those two ideas, it's obviously not only the rook that you want to use in that attack,
No.
also on the seventh rank.
So the plan was to play this and then this, and maybe I should flip-flop the 2 and play this first. Sorry.
What's the difference in the move order if you play queen e7 first?
Well, I'm removing the queen b8 threat, and it's the f7 is immediately threatened if I play either of these moves.
Yes. So queen e7
Okay.
is a very powerful move order because it keeps both options alive. Now rook c8 check is a threat because if king g7, queen f8, that's already mate in a few moves, forced mate. The king cannot go to h7 because the f7 pawn is hanging immediately. So black has something to deal with right now in this moment. If black, let's say, moves the king away from the back rank, how would you continue?
Well, you actually don't have a way to defend f7, do you?
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's true. Very good.
Hold on a
Simple.
second. Yeah, so yeah, so that's it.
Yeah,
That's
so this would be an immediate problem for black, and black has to give up the queen for the rook to protect
wow. Okay.
against the mate. Uh, so let's try to defend now black's position because suddenly it becomes serious. What would you consider here the best defense for black?
Desperate measures time. Okay. And that fork on that the fact that rook on b4 actually prevents the most obvious defense, which is queen e6.
Hmm.
Okay.
There's only one move for black.
Okay.
One move.
All right. Let me find it.
You can find it, I'm sure. See, Yasser is proud of you. I'm proud of you as well.
Oh,
We are
thank you,
proud of
Yasser.
you. Even if
That's
we are
that's
pulling
very
your
nice
leg
of you.
constantly, we are
Well,
still
I
proud
think
of you,
the
Nikola.
what did Yasser say? Yasser say that he is biting me by the arm and you're biting me by the leg. What? Thank you.
Yes, team effort.
All right, very good. I'm honored, first and foremost. All right, so what do we do here? Darn, I have to. I can play bishop c4.
All right. Bishop c4. So giving back the piece.
Yeah. So that I'm not saying that's what I'm gonna do, but that's an option.
Yeah, true.
I can try to play rook f4 and then remove the knight, but that's gonna be a little problematic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what else do I have? Queen b7. I have to sacrifice the queen for the rook. And what else do I have? I can play knight d5.
What happens after knight d5?
Okay, so after knight d5, there is this. And then queen g7.
Yeah, the king goes to g7 and then?
And what do I do now? I do queen e5. And
how can black defend after queen e5?
Well, the only move is f6, and then it's.
Is it? Is it the only move?
All right. This is the failure. This is the failure of my vision, of my tactical vision.
It's okay. It's a very complicated position, as Yasser says.
No, thank you. Yes or no. I lost the one position against Dean on Sunday because I didn't see a simple move when I was.
Oh, this is not simple at all. I think this was very easy to miss.
All right, so we're doing knight d5, rook
yes,
c8.
Let's refute knight d5.
Rook c5, queen g7.
Yeah, king goes to g7. Yes.
All right, then rook e5, then queen e5, which
queen e5
is probably a good move. Okay, so I can play queen f6, and then that loses the piece.
Yeah.
Right. So,
what other defensive moves are there after
so
queen e5?
I can also bring the knight back.
What happens if the knight comes back?
If the knight comes back, then my rook is on c8, and blah 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 blah. Okay. All right, so I'm pretty sure queen e5 is the right move.
Why so?
Well, let me think for a second.
Sure. We can play out the moves rook c8,
All right.
and 95 rook c8, king g7 until that position.
Okay. Okay. So if I play queen f8, it's going to escape here. I can go check on h8. And it's going to escape on g5. I can give a check on h4. And he's going to get mated on h6. If he goes on e6, what do I do then?
So how was the mate again? Would you like to play out those moves?
Sure. All right.
Is that mate?
No. But this is...
Let's do this
that's
one more time.
That's a very convenient mate. I'm joking. That's not
No.
that's not the right line, obviously.
Well, what was wrong with the line? Because it looked very pretty, but just tell us what was wrong with it.
Well, the wrong with this line is that the black doesn't need to take on h4. He can just play the Spartan king and go to f4, and I can't mate him.
What if black wants to take on h4?
Well, he can take with a rook, and then I lost my queen. As I said, I lost the track of this position completely.
No worries. This has been a 3-hour torture already.
That's
no,
fine.
the thing is after king g5, h4, rook takes
the games
h4
I'm about to play
mate.
are going to be as long, but this is not the line to get to it. So that's patently obvious. So all right.
You play these positions very well out of intuition, but this is a really complicated one. So no worries about not seeing fully what's going on.
That's fine.
But you play the right line. So, if we go back to king g7, we have refuted already, and the final question was, what if knight d5? It doesn't have to be a forced mate, but there are many tempting options, including the one you started describing. You can give this check. And you don't need to hurry with this check. You can, for instance, play this first. Or another way of doing it is if you don't play it with check, but queen e8, threatening mate on h8. And now if the king wants to escape, you will always have rook c6. So this is a bit trickier to place the queen on e8, which is not check. It's just a crazy position. We've given up a piece. And then you can make a silent move like this. I think it's a very pretty move, queen e8. It does threaten mate in 1, but it doesn't come with a check. So black has a tempo to do something about it. But all the pieces are on the wrong side of the board. The queen, the rook are not helping at all, nor the bishop on d3. So it's only the knight that has been protecting the king to some extent, and in some lines the queen. But this is a disaster. So the one defensive move that is in the position, and this is going to be the final thing we look at today, here after queen e7, which is a really strong move. There's only one move that can somewhat save the day for black, and that's this beauty. Let's see why knight h7
oh my god
is the only move.
All right. I could have had a correspondence game and I wouldn't have seen this. Okay. Well, in all honesty, this is extremely useful for me because I really do have a problem with these extended mating sequences. In other words, when the mate is virtually forced, but it takes 5 moves to get there. Mm-hmm. There are some that I just see that pop in my head, and there are some that I just don't. And this is one of those that just don't. So.
But this is an extremely complex position, Nikola. I wouldn't have known any of this if I didn't have it analyzed. So this is not easy for anyone. Believe us,
No,
this
no,
is
no,
this is super
I'm
complex.
no, that as I said, that's a part of it's a part of learning experience. That's fine. So knight h7 saves the game
Yes, for now, but black
because
still needs to play precise moves. And white as well. Like
uh,
white has to keep hitting hard
okay.
because white is a piece down.
Oh, thank you guys. That's very greatly appreciated. You being here in the first place, and second, the
You're
support is
doing very
overwhelming.
well.
All right, so I'm gonna turn. So let's see. So I played
Yeah,
this,
okay. I have only
and
one move.
what now?
Well,
Okay.
um, that's a good question.
You see, I'm trying here to turn the tables around, and she won't let me.
Okay, I need to address this move order. Okay, you want to give mate on h8. So
Yeah.
one option would be king f6, but that steps into rook c8 check with the
Yes.
queen. So
No, I'm joking. Let me try to
no, no,
repeat.
no. But on the principle, I think I need to use a system of elimination in which I'm threatening. I'm threatened to be mated in one, and I cannot move my king out of to the sixth rank. So I need to create space for the king either on h6 or on g6. So I have to check those two pawn pushes, h5 and g5. If I push the g pawn, I'm allowing your knight to get into the game, which was a piece that I was happy that I wasn't attacking my king as much
Yeah,
as the
that should
queen
be
and the
losing
rook.
almost immediately.
Yeah, so I would say if I need to survive h5 and I hide my king on h6 and pray. What do
Okay.
you think about that, Nikola?
All right, that's um,
But honestly,
no,
in a practical game, these positions can be an immediate win for white for the attack. And also it could have been the other way around. If white doesn't
sure.
spot bishop takes d3, then white is lost in that position. This has been a really complex position with chances for both if a tactical motif is missed. So you are right. You are right. This is an insane position, but you would have a good chance of
No, I appreciate that.
cashing
Thank
in.
you. No, but in all honesty, I did in the match against Dina. I in game number 3, I just needed to see the proper sequence that leads to a mate, and I didn't, and I ended up then losing the game on a mouse slip. So
Yeah.
it's it's improving one's tactical vision.
You're certainly doing that, and I hope that today's session helped not only to analyze crazy complex lines, but also to have a couple of more ideas added to your middle game plans in the Scotch line, because today we've been looking at a certain variation, a particular variation of the Scotch that Nikola played a couple of times against Dina last Sunday, and he wasn't feeling very comfortable in those positions. That's why today we dedicated the session to those middle games. Would you like to sum up what we looked at and what you have learned for those middle games, Nikola?
No, this was extremely useful for me playing Scotch, and the Hound of CS. Orchid, thank you for the subscription. That's very greatly appreciated, my friend. No, this was extremely useful for me because I'm gonna. Can I go? Can I go all the way back to the beginning?
You should be able to, yeah.
Okay, and
Yes.
if we were to go here, this is normal Scotch. This is all fine. For me, this. Oh, I hate when it does this.
Yeah, I should promote
No,
the right lines.
no worries, Anna. This motive of playing rook on b4 in this position, that's not a very obvious move. That's something I'm going to happily add to my, toolkit, for the lack of a better word. And I really, 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 really like this a4 push.
Yeah, though with the right move order,
With
because
the
we
right
shouldn't
move
allow
order,
that
yes.
knight d4
Yeah,
jump.
we
Yes.
kind of said that. And I think in one of the games I was able to actually achieve a better position towards the end by utilizing that pin when the rook was on g3 and just didn't follow through.
Yeah, that
But
game.
yeah, but this putting rook on on b8 and then b4 and then a5, a4, that's a very useful thrust because that basically eliminates white's possibility to, because this is technically a better pawn structure for white than it's for black, and this combats it very nicely.
Yes.
I'm not saying that I'm looking forward to playing another game with Dina, but I'll still play Latvian Gambit, but this is very, very, very useful for understanding of the position.
I'm glad it's been useful, and you can play it against other players too. I just wanted to make sure that there's no unpleasant line or position that you get into, or
No,
or that
thank you.
even if it's not that unpleasant, but psychologically you will fear getting those positions.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. This was very useful. And just Anna is very kind. I basically sent her an email whenever I send it. It was yesterday saying I was very uncomfortable in Scotch, and she basically, scrapped whatever she had prepared and prepared this instead. So thank you, Anna, for doing that. And Saubhaja65, thank you so much. So
It's okay, Nikola. I can still use the material I had for next week, if not,
sure.
unless there's something more urgent. But
Sure.
I thought this was more urgent in case, if it can appear in your not sub battles, but in case it can appear in your adoption matches for Sundays, or just not to have it in the back of your mind that you want to avoid this line.
All right. Thank you, Anna. Thank you. I'm still, starstruck that Yasser Servan appeared in my channel to begin with. So thank you, Yasser. You are a legend, and Anna is the legend. Thank you guys for stopping by. That's very, very, very greatly appreciated. And I'm going to post this on YouTube fairly quickly, because I think this is going to be very useful. Oh, yeah, sir, thank you for staying so long. It's been an honor and pleasure to have you here, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir. It's always so nice to see you.
Yeah, your streams with Anna are actually probably the best content Chess24 had in in a very long time. And for the record, feel free to quote me. I actually said that to Sebastian on Friday. So it's
thank you for that, Nikola. Yasser has been an amazing host. I think he should be the
he
main
always
host of the future broadcast too.
No, absolutely true. That there is no competition there, to be very frank. But
absolutely.
Anyway, all right, guys. So thank you for stopping by. I have to face a well-prepared former Italian champion Alessia Santeramo on Sunday, who is based on the titles of her streams this week, which are basically Adopt Nikola. So I think she's gonna come prepared. So I need to figure out how to counter prepare so she doesn't surprise me. But I'm not gonna discuss this for obvious reasons on the stream. So give Alessia a shout out. That's coming up on this. No mercy expected, no mercy given, no mercy taken. I'm actually very happy to play this game. I don't think Alessia is going to play Grob against me. I am very booked up in the Grob, and unless she has some surprise that she and Noel came up with, I don't think she's going to play the Grob. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you guys again. Let's see, whom should we rate? All right. Let's see. All right. You guys have any suggestions? Let's see who is streaming that would actually like to the stream. Okay, there is really nobody I know. Chessbra just is actually playing chess. So I'm gonna send you to Chessbra, and it's CCN. Who is CCN? Let's see. Supper is saying CCN. Let me see. CCN. I I don't see CCM Supper. Okay, let me just send you to Chessbra real quick. So that's
I think for Yasser's presence and Yasser being
yes.
a chess bro, this is a great
Yes,
choice.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think if Yasser comes with the raid from me, that's going to be an interesting trolling opportunity, if nothing else. Anyway, so say hello to Eric and Aman, and I will see you guys very soon. And thank you for stopping by. Thank you, Yasser, for stopping by. And
Thank
Anna,
you so much.
thank you again. I'm sending you out. Let's see. Did that go through?
You guys are.
Let's see.
Nikola, thank you for the raid.
Very good. That went through. Anna, I just want to thank you a million. Let me